What's up, guys? It is October 12th, 2019, and it is my first night here at Cerro Gordo alone. Well, alone other than Jack. A thing that I've always wanted to do is stay up here for an extended period of time by myself, and it's been a dream of mine that I can't seem to shake for the past few months. If nothing else, for a life experience, living for an extended period of time in a ghost town would be pretty interesting. Let's try it out.
I honestly don't know what to do.
All right.
This is a real treat. I can't wait to check this out.
This is the lounge so far. This is the American Hotel. We're gonna need a lot of help.
This is where the fire happened.
Like I said, we're getting the tour of the ghost town, the infamous Cerro Gordo.
You guys know this guy, right?
Hello there.
Brent Underwood with his famous hello there.
Cheers, Brent.
Cheers. Great having you up here.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
Thanks for having us out.
Of course, yeah.
He actually has a YouTube channel. If you guys want to keep up with the adventures here.
Every time I get something big up this hill, man, I'm just like, I can go anywhere, do anything.
You haven't seen Brokeback Mountain? What are you doing up here?
Is this place haunted? Just be honest.
Do you ever start to feel sort of like Tom Hanks in Castaway?
So, 5 months after I first spent that night alone at Cerro Gordo, a world event would force my hand on whether I truly wanted to be there for an extended time. The world was shutting down, and I needed to make a decision if this was the moment to head out there.
In central China, a man has died following an outbreak of an unknown pneumonia-like virus.
China has more than 200 confirmed cases of coronavirus, it's called.
Coronavirus officially hitting the U.S.
Australia's first coronavirus case.
This is a global pandemic.
It's March 18th. 2020, we are on kind of coronavirus lockdown, and I live on 6th Street in Austin, which is typically the most busy street in Austin. But if you look tonight, that's where I want to go. Today I got to figure out pretty much whether I'm going to stay or whether I'm going to go. It's March 19th today, so there's been a lot of talks that they're going to shut down the roads, the airports, businesses, and kind of where you want to be for the next 8 weeks. You need to decide now. And so for me, it's like, do I stay here in Austin? It's comfortable here. You know, I got everything I could need. I got friends here, easy access to healthcare, supplies, food, all that. Or do I get in my car and go to Cerro Gordo? I'm being drawn to Cerro Gordo, to be honest with you. And there's something there. There's something that, I don't know, I just want to go check it out. And I think maybe that's reason enough.
Starting route to Lone Pine. Proceed to Chicone Street, then turn left.
What's up? We're about 10 hours into the drive. I've made it through Texas finally. I am about halfway through New Mexico, almost to the Arizona border. Excited to get up to Cerro Gordo and hunker down and see this thing out. Heading out to Cerro Gordo, I was looking for something as a response to the growing restlessness I felt in my life in Austin. A push against that comfortable apartment, routine days, and numbing sameness. I wanted a challenge, something that would call upon the potential I knew I had inside me, to see what I was made of, to not continue, as Thoreau put it, a life of quiet desperation, to not go to the grave with a song still in me. And the idea of doing something, anything, to combat the feeling was very, very exciting.
right out here is where my YouTube journey began. I walked into frame, looked up, said morning.
Morning.
And my life pretty much changed forever. I came out here looking for something, and I think part of that was a creative outlet. I didn't grow up drawing, I didn't grow up making music, I didn't grow up writing books, and during the pandemic when we were all looking for our hobbies, I figured, hey, I'd love to learn how to make videos, you know, how to frame a shot, how to do a time lapse. And I figured if nothing else, I would have a really cool time capsule of an interesting part of all of our lives. And over 100 videos later, hundreds of millions of views later, I'm still learning how to make videos, but I definitely have a very cool time capsule of the craziest 5 years of my life. I'm just waking up here at Cerro Gordo. It's about 6 a.m. and we are in a former mining town located about 3 hours outside of LA. And so what I'm hoping to do with these are show you around the property, dive into some of the buildings, show you the different projects we're working on, look at the artifacts that we find here, the plans that we have, explore some of the old mines and caves, hopefully find some, you know, relics of the past, maybe a few animals, maybe some ghosts, who knows. We have the bunkhouse, and I'll be honest with you, I don't really love the bunkhouse. It's not about the structure, it's very functional, it's not about the shape or the design, but I have my one and only ghost story from in here, and ever since I really dislike going in here, particularly alone, particularly at night. So whenever you have a ghost town, one of the first questions people ask is, have you seen any ghosts? And admittedly, prior to buying Cerro Gordo, I was a firm non-believer in ghosts. It just wasn't my thing. And then one night, I publicly said on TV, you know, listen, I don't think ghosts are a thing. And literally that night, some friends of mine were staying up at the Belshaw house. So I walked down here to the bunkhouse, and I looked in that first window right there, and the curtain opened and closed, and after it opened and closed, a little face looked out, and the light was on in the kitchen. That's the kitchen area right there. And so, no big deal. The contractors have been up here at Cerro Gordo staying in the house. So I turned around and I went and stayed in a different house. And in the morning, I went down to Robert, our caretaker, and I said, Robert, how long are the contractors staying in the bunkhouse? And he kind of turned and looked at me and said, the contractors left 2 weeks ago. And so that was a bit spooky, but you know what? Not gonna freak out yet. I came back down here, I went into the door, I locked it, I turned off the light, and I locked it with that padlock that you can see right there. So after it was locked, I went back, I stayed in the Belshaw house that night up there, and when I came back later to go watch a hike up on the top of the mountain, the light was back on in the kitchen, even though the door was locked. So, ghosts, I don't know. Early on in owning Cerro Gordo, I met this guy who had bought and renovated his own mining town. And I was telling him all my plans, how excited I was, and he said, stop. You know, none of these are gonna make sense until you actually move out to the property, spend time there, like real time there. See what it looks like at sunrise, see what it looks like at sunset, see how the different shadows interact with the different buildings at different times of day. Then you'll truly understand what the property can become. And during my first few weeks being up here in 2020, I felt like I started to understand what he meant. You know, the plans I had made before weren't making that much sense. But every day I could see the potential of this place, and my mind just raced with all of these ideas. And I was so excited to share what I was learning about the town and about the future of the town. And so if I'm going over an overview of what buildings we have up here, we have the bunkhouse, the one that I'm currently sitting in. We have the Belshaw house, And the Belshaw house was originally created for Mortimer Belshaw. And Mortimer was a guy that was kind of the, I don't know, Jeff Bezos of the time. He not only owned the toll road coming up and down, he owned the mining claims to mine the property, and he also owned the general store. So anything that you're doing in Cerro Gordo, Mortimer was part of. Right next to the Belshaw house, there's the Gordon Mansion. I put mansion in kind of air quotes because, I mean, it's 4-bedroom. How much of a mansion could it be? But the Gordon Mansion was originally created for, I believe it was John D. Gordon. And Mr. Gordon came up here kind of after the silver era. So silver was mined from, let's say, 1865 to 1900. Kind of sputtered out. Some lead was mined. And then by 1908, Cerro Gordo wasn't in great shape. People were leaving. They were moving to other mining towns. They were thinking of other opportunities. But Mr. Gordon came up, and he found zinc in the mountain. And this is a whole new deposit that nobody else had mined yet. So from 1910 to about 1930, Cerro Gordo became extremely prosperous again, all because of zinc. And so Mr. Gordon was kind of the zinc baron of the time. Across from Belshaw's house is the general store, and the general store was Belshaw's. Currently, it's being used as a museum in the front and kind of storage in the back. And we hope to one day expand that to be a full museum. You know, that's a place where hopefully there'll be some books about Cerro Gordo, as well as all the relics from the time past, as well as some descriptions next to it. So those are kind of the 4 buildings. Then, right next to us, we have the church or movie theater. Originally, the church and movie theater was a mechanic's garage. It's where they brought out, worked on the machinery, did all of that type of stuff. Currently, it's used as storage, but over the last few days, we've been pulling out wood, and it has these crazy cool movie theater seats in it. And so what we hope to do eventually is screen movies there, or have like a little film festival of sorts for Cerro Gordo where people can, you know, we'll have teams shoot a video on site, and then we'll premiere them all in the theater one night, and we'll choose a winner, which could be a lot of fun. And then next to that, kind of further in town, is the American Hotel, which is probably the most recognizable building in Cerro Gordo. It was built in 1871, and it has a saloon downstairs. The saloon has the card table right off of it, where the infamous card game went awry, left a bullet hole in the wall and a blood stain on the floor. So the American Hotel is one that we're going to work on. It's going to take a lot of work just because it's a massive building, but that's on the docket. And then finally is the assay office that we were up by earlier. And the assay office is where they used to sample the different minerals. That's not all the buildings though. The crown jewel in many ways of the property is the hoist house. And the hoist house is where the original Union mine was. And this is a mine that went 1,400 feet straight down with kind of side tunnels every 100 feet to mine the pipes. And the hoist house isn't visible from the main town because there's pilings or piles of dirt that they pulled out of the mine obscuring the view. But once you get up there, it's this massive, probably 6,000 square foot building with 40-foot ceilings. As you can see, very unsafe. But this cart right here, you feel underneath, there's tons of cold air coming. And it's not one that I love standing on just because, I mean, right there, if I were to drop my sunglasses right now, right there, they'd go 1,300 feet down. I'm never going back.
The other thing you confront when you start actually living in an abandoned mining town is that the town is probably abandoned for a reason. And in Cerro Gordo's case, a big reason was running water. And it's one thing to think about living without running water conceptually from afar, but it's a totally different thing when you wake up every morning and you want to wash your hands, take a shower, wash some dishes, flush a toilet. It just takes on a whole new meaning.
Let's talk water. And obviously, outside of funding, the biggest issue that we have up here at Cerro Gordo is water, or I guess more accurately, the lack thereof of water. And if you look around, there's tons of snow, and so maybe it's not necessarily a water problem, but a water collection problem. But Cerro Gordo and water have kind of a storied history, and it's a missing puzzle piece that's been missing from the town for at least the last 100 years.
The town originally was fed by these springs in these surrounding hills, and the springs were supported by Owens Lake down below. And so when Owens Lake started getting dried up around 1918, 1920, the lake dried in a matter of 10 years and dried up all the springs around it, which left Cerro Gordo, high and dry with no water. And so for the past 100 years, they've been trying to come up with a bunch of different solutions to this, from trucking in water, to piping in from other springs that eventually dried up, to the former owners even would pump water out of the mine. They collected at the 800 level, so they'd pump water out of the mine and bring it into town. But obviously for us, if we want to use this for any type of commercial purpose, that's not really an option. So I think the options that we've been exploring are trucking up water, bringing up water large quantities at a time, putting it in a water tank at the top of the town so there's a water pressure. And if we got a big enough tank and we had a small enough usage, we could probably only have to refill that tank every 2.5 months, 3 months. That's kind of, I think, leading the way in terms of options for us right now. Option 2, look around, there's tons of snow. So figuring out a way that we could capture this snow melt when it happens. Being up here for the last 3 weeks and seeing it snow a lot and then melt and snow a lot and then melt. The water's here, we just have to figure out how to get it. Being up here for the past 3 weeks has brought it even further to the front of my mind, just because we don't even have tanked water up here right now. There hasn't been able to get a truck up, and if we did, it would have frozen. So I'm trying to make do with what I can. You learn to use the same cup for your cereal in the morning, for your coffee afterwards, for your spaghetti at noon, and then for your soup at night, and try to just conserve and wipe it down as you can. And then just, all the other issues that come along with the lack of water. Showering, we have a surf shower up here that I can fill up with a gallon of water and kind of spray myself down. Or worst case scenario, you just use wet wipes, which admittedly is disgusting, but luckily there's not too many people up here judging me for it.
As the days became weeks up here, I let my mind truly wander what Cerro Gordo could be. I walked through each building time and time again, cleaning them out, seeing what's there, what should stay, what should go. And it felt like I was on the right path, that the town was having the faintest beat of a heart once again. I felt fulfilled, maybe in a way that I had never felt before. I felt like I found exactly what I was looking for, a challenge, something to give my whole life to. I was probably the happiest I had been in a decade or so.
So this is project 2 or 3 that I've been working on for the past couple weeks, and it is a church building. It wasn't originally a church, it was actually a maintenance garage, but the former owner added that steeple, and that stained glass is from a Stevie McQueen movie called Nevada Smith. And a week or 2 ago, this thing was just full of wood. You can see some of it here still, but it was floor to ceiling, just essentially junk. So task number 1 was just clearing out all the stuff that was in there. And that project took a long time, but pretty pleased with the results so far. As you can see, the former owner just put these movie theater type seats in here. And so back there's even a little projection box. So one day we hope to create this as a place where people can come, we can screen movies, it's kind of in the center of town. Maybe we'll even create a contest where people come, teams film videos on site, and then we screen the results here. But this building is one of the projects we've been working on over the next few months. If you go into the backyard, this backyard is where they used to store all sorts of junk. It had, again, probably 4 foot high of scrap metal and stuff, but with a lot of work, cleared out this yard and hope to build a deck back here eventually. All right, so today I'm gonna be exploring some mines. And I think, just as a disclaimer, mines are inherently dangerous. They collapse all the time. We do not recommend going in any of these mines. So I think it'd be a good time to do a little bit of terminology for you. So a tunnel, which most people think that they're walking into, is not typically a tunnel. A tunnel needs to be exposed to the atmosphere on both sides, so have an entrance and an exit that are different. Most of what I'm going to be checking out today are called adits, and adits have one way in and one way out. And most of these adits were drilled for like an exploratory purpose, to check out if there's minerals in there. If there were, maybe they would go further back. And so a lot of them might only go, 100 yards back. A few of the ones I'm going to go into today go miles back, and those are ones that are probably connected into the main mine shaft.
So we're trying to go. That's what we're working with. Some rock fell down. Hopefully there's no bobcats back here. This has been known bobcat territory.
Over the past week or so, I explored maybe 20 or 30 mines.
Saw this from the road. Looking promising. Oh yeah. We're good. Never been into this one before. Oh, it's beautiful. Wow. Think about people just blasting this with dynamite and having to clear it out. It's insane. Alright. It's a short little guy. So, on to the next, I suppose. And then, a few months into the summer 2020, tragedy struck. An event that is difficult to recount even 5 years later. The American Hotel, the crown jewel of the entire town, burned down in an electrical fire. And it felt like all of the momentum, all of the enthusiasm, all of the joy that I've been feeling was wiped out overnight. I remember the day after the fire, the old owner of the town came up, and I was reeling, and I thought he was going to be completely angry. And instead he came up to me, he hugged me, and he assured me that, these things happen in places like this. And he said, listen, you can't change what happened, but what happens from here is up to you. And that was what I needed. I needed a rallying cry, something to grasp onto. And I feel like in my entire life, I haven't had such a turning point as I had in the moment after the fire. And I vowed, no matter how hard it was, to rebuild. And I had no idea at the time what that would mean, but I would come to learn in the coming years. This is where the fire happened. This used to be the Crapo house here. This was the little store with the antique sign out front. That was the ore cart. This was the hotel.
Watching your hopes, dreams, life savings, love, history that will never be replaced go up in flames. And it's hard. This is 3 days later now, and I still don't like even leaving the building to look at it. But when something like this happens, a lot of people have supported us. Some people that really know the town well, know me well, and they've been extremely supportive, and they reminded me that, hey, like it or not, good or bad, this is part of Cerro Gordo's history now. What other option do we have? We could give up, or we could rebuild. And we have the original floor plans. We found those not even a week before this happened, and somebody asked me, or somebody wrote on something that I heard you guys are gonna throw in the towel and sell it. We're not giving up. I'm gonna die at Cerro Gordo. This isn't a project, this isn't a startup. I don't think about it in month-over-month growth. The timeline here is decades. It's not years, it's not months, it's not days or hours. And Cerro Gordo is going to be here after I'm gone, and there's going to be a hotel here. The hotel site is pretty cleared at this point. There's some more work that we're doing over. I'm breaking up the ice house. Next comes the Crapo. Still got some things to do here, but we're moving along. A lot of progress this month. I mean, that loader definitely helps. As you can see, it's pretty much cleared down past the ash now, and that's been a huge relief. I mean, waking up every morning and having to kind of relive that was quite difficult. And now just seeing the progress is just, I don't know, inspiring, I think is the best way to describe it. And so right now, I'm just working to clear it further. The next step that I'm trying to do before the winter hits any even more is to make a basement. The plan currently is to have the building look very similar to as it did before. So from the outside, the building's gonna be as it was before. So 2 stories, you know, the tin roof, the deck out front, and for the facade, we're gonna use old wood. So wood that's aged in kind of that golden brown color that's similar to the hotel used to be. So that way it doesn't stand out or anything like that. And as you go in, if you've been into the hotel before, it should look very familiar on the bottom floor. You know, you'll go in, there'll be a small lobby area and desk at the front. Then just past that, you'll go into the main room. There'll be a bar on the left, and hopefully the bar looks very similar to as the bar did in the old hotel. Next to the bar, there'll be a card room. I mean, it wouldn't be a saloon without a card room. We'll probably even have to put back in the swinging doors and all that. In front of the bar is gonna be the dining area, where there'll be small tables for people to eat. And then in the back, there'll be a kitchen, a fully functioning kitchen. And before, we weren't really able to utilize that space in the way that we could. But, you know, this is gonna be a new hotel. It's gonna have running water, it's gonna be up to code, there'll be sprinklers to make sure it's safe. That's kind of the most important part of the hotel. And then as you go upstairs, you know, there's gonna be 6 rooms. And so each of the 6 rooms are all gonna have beautiful views of Sequoia National Park. You know, if you went upstairs before, there's a hallway down the center of it, and that kind of cut the building in half. For this, we moved the hallway to this side of the building, leaving all 6 of the rooms with just beautiful, larger rooms, all with views over the mountains. And so, yeah, hopefully I can sit on this bench in a couple months and we'll see a basement behind me. And who knows, in less than a year, I'll sit in the same spot and there'll be a full-blown hotel behind me. So guys, YouTube sent me one of these. Thank you very much. It is an official 100,000 subscriber play button. They're a little behind, but that's all right. And I'm showing you this to say thank you, and to also say this is gonna be the first item that I am putting inside a time capsule that will be going underneath the new American Hotel. Today is November 20th, 2020, and my name is Brent Underwood. I'm the current owner here, and I love this town. I hope you're reading this long after 2020. Maybe 500 years? 1,000 years even. It's wild to try to put myself in the headspace to think about Cerro Gordo in 1,000 years. I really hope it's still here. I bought Cerro Gordo just over 2 years ago and fall in love with this place more and more every day. For the past 8 months I've been living here, mostly alone, trying to bring a heartbeat back to this town. To create a place where more people can come, share the beautiful land, and learn about the history here. I truly think it's my life's mission. I feel really grateful to have found something to dedicate my life to, and have been working really hard not to mess it up. I feel a great sense of responsibility here.
Not to any one person, but to history as a whole. It's a great weight on my shoulders sometimes, but I've been working really hard. 10 to 12 hours a day trying to see this mission through. And I hope in the end it's all worth it. This town is much more than me. There were owners before I was here, and there'll be owners long after I'm gone. I wonder who the owner is when you're reading this. I hope it's someone that still dreams that Cerro Gordo can be more than it currently is. I'll give you a few fun things I've been working on around here over this past month. The biggest thing this month has been the basement of the American Hotel. I've been digging that with the help of Josh and John, two local guys. Josh is doing a lot of the heavy machinery work, but training me to become an expert operator too. I'm getting a lot more comfortable using the loader and backhoe. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I really appreciate all the support from the surrounding community. It makes it easier to keep going those long days. Hopefully, within a month we have the basement built. The basement that you went through to get this note. It's weird to think about that.
Ho, ho, ho! Off to the mine we go! Ho, ho, ho! How are you, Frosty? It's been a while. How you been? How's the family? Yeah, they got you working the mine shift these days, huh? Not too bad. A lot quieter than Reno, huh? Those were the days. Let's get some presents underneath you. You're missing the presents. Ho, ho, ho! Now that's Christmas. Now that's Christmas. Ho, ho, ho! Now this is Christmas. Ho, ho, ho! You know, I was making my list and checking it twice, but it still seems like I forgot something. I got the presents, but I forgot the most important one. A pair of original Levi jeans. Guess it's time for Santa to go explore some mines. Got the rope. Santa's got his helmet. Got my harness. What do you say we go find those jeans and make Brent a real happy guy?
By the time Christmas of 2020 rolled around, I realized that I was not going anywhere for a long time. What started off as a few-week trip turned into months, and there was no finish line in sight for the American Hotel. So I tried to enjoy it. You know, I dressed up like Santa. I dragged this tree back in the mine, and I just felt stoked to be doing something exciting, to be living a different life. And the loneliness hadn't fully hit yet, but it was coming. So as the first year was coming to a close, I was learning what it meant to truly live here, not just come up here for a week or two on vacation. And I was having to learn all sorts of new skills, and my daily routine was totally different. You know, I had to learn how to operate heavy machinery. I needed woodworking, carpentry, smelting, rock climbing, rappelling, mechanical stuff, all of these things that I was really stoked to be learning. But at the same time, my daily routine didn't look anything like it did when I was in Austin. In Austin, I would love to go to the grocery store for my little snacks, you know, maybe once a day, get some fresh fruit, maybe some sushi, maybe a little piece of chocolate. And that's just not happening up here. You know, the closest grocery store is 2 hours away. And so you end up batching everything a lot more. I'm not just taking a casual trip anywhere. If I'm going down the hill, if I'm going to commit that type of time, I'm going to the grocery store, I'm going to the hardware store, I'm going to maybe get myself a nice lunch while I'm down there. I'm getting everything that I could possibly need for the next week or so, just so I don't have to go down the mountain once again. And I think as far as practical day-to-day changes, One of the biggest changes was just my diet. You know, in Austin, I felt like I ate relatively healthy. I've been an athlete most of my life, so I was always training. And up here, almost all that went out the window. If I had to think about the daily meal up here, it's eggs, maybe some oatmeal in the morning. By lunchtime, it's time for a sandwich. In the evening, I'm either cracking open some canned goods that, you know, I don't even know the expiration date of, or making pasta, or breaking out frozen hamburgers, which just is not the most ideal diet. And I think sometimes when you convince yourself you're just going to be somewhere for a couple of days, you let a lot more things slide than when you're up there for a year. So as the first year was coming to a close, I was very aware of some of the gaps. And then it comes to water, you know, both for drinking and for doing anything else. I knew that there wasn't water up here from the beginning, and by the end of year one, I was starting to hack together how to clean dishes, how to take showers, but I was much more conscious of my water consumption generally, and it was just something that I thought about a lot, which I would never think about in Austin. Towards the end of year one, there was a lot more in store. I spent so much time trying to get the water down the mine working. We ran 700 feet of new piping. We put in a new pump. We messed with the electrical. Everything to try to get this working, and it worked for maybe a month. But what changed between year one and year two is that by year two, I was confident in my ability to tackle whatever issues Cerro Gordo may throw my way. The task is, we're gonna take this pump down, and if the pump needs replacing, we will replace the pump. We will do whatever we need to do to bring water 700 feet back up that old mine shaft to right there to back into town so I can have water for the American Hotel. I have 3 2,500 gallon tanks down there. I hope to store water in all of them, which give me 7,500 gallons worth of water to work with. It's gonna be a big task. You know, this task requires taking an original hoist from 1865, using a 150-year-old piece of equipment to risk your life dangling over a hole going down 700 feet. But when we're down there, I hope it leads to new water. And also, I hope I get to explore a little bit. You know, the 700 level here at Cerro Gordo is a level I've always wanted to explore. I look at the maps of the place and it looks huge. It looks like there's so much to explore, so many treasures to find. And anytime I've gone down there before, it's all business. You know, we're there to replace a pump. We're there to get in and get out. Today, I hope to convince the guys to let me, you know, look around a little bit more and maybe find some different treasures. That's my hope anyways. That's what I'm getting into today. No matter what, it's gonna be an adventure. So stay tuned as I try to get water back here to Cerro Gordo. The plan was I'd go down with 2 other guys. We'd diagnose what's going on with the pump, hopefully be able to just flip a switch and start it over again, and then come back up. So we headed down, you know, with high hopes. The pump had been turned off for a while. We thought maybe if we turn it on, you know, it'll just get going again, and maybe it was the cold that was creating the problems. So this week, when replacing the pump, my biggest concern was the hoist. You know, this is an original piece of machinery from 1865 where you're dangling in a metal cage by a cable with a 900-foot drop below you. Hoists have failed in the past, and unlike a brand new rope, I don't have 100% confidence in the hoist structural integrity. But once the hoist is going down, the hoist is going down. You know, worrying about the cable snapping isn't going to make it any more or less likely to happen. So it's not even worth thinking about it.
There it is. We went too far. We're on the moon. There's the flag.
We got pressure.
Think water's getting to it?
Yeah, we got 300 feet of snow almost. No reason why we don't have water upstairs.
And as we got down there, we quickly learned that the pump we had down there, which was essentially new 6 months ago, was kaput. You know, it wasn't working anymore. It needed to be replaced. And luckily we had another pump up on the surface, so that this pump needed to come out and go back up. Let's go see what the sump's looking like, you know, where the actual water source is down here. There's your water. There's the ducks of Cerro Gordo. 700 feet down, this is what we're looking at. And it doesn't make a ton of sense why it's not getting back up to the top. But again, I'm not the expert here, so I'll ask Craig.
So Craig, who was with me, who's an electrician, he took out the pump.
What was going on with it? It just wasn't strong enough or something?
Yeah, we were getting zero pressure on the gauge. So, filled it with oil. Didn't help. It's not even sucking water. That's all that was in the pipe going up, so it wasn't.
All the way up to the top.
To wherever it is.
Yeah.
And we were gonna go back up. And each trip down to the 700-foot level takes about 45 minutes each way. So you're thinking an hour and a half round trip. And so as they're going up, I thought to myself, you know, how many of us does it take just to bring a pump back up and bring a different pump down? So I convinced the guys to leave me there.
All right.
Have fun.
Yeah. See y'all in a bit.
Say hi to the ghost for us.
I will.
Maybe.
If you guys make it, yeah. You know, I give a little peek down.
And so they left with the promise to return. You know, you never know. And I started exploring.
Well, there's only about 4 ways to go, so let's take path number 1. Ooh, we got some crisp blue something. I mean, you're telling me that's not blue? It's blue fabric. Oh, what have we got? Oh, it was pants. I mean, that's a pant leg of it. You know, to me, people ask sometimes, you know, what would you do if you were to find Levi's? And the point's never to sell them. I just think the fact that they sell for $100,000 is interesting. It puts in perspective how rare they are, you know, the rarity of these items. But for me, it's more about, it just became a quest, you know, it just became something I'm searching for, something to give me a little bit of excitement as I go back into these mines. And if I find them, my goal is to put them in the museum so I can continue telling people about the history of, you know, denim and blue jeans and mining, and so more people can learn about it. I think the guys are getting close again. Hello? Oh, there they are. Ah, well, guess I don't need to spend the night down here after all. Look at these treasures, though. Look how cool that is. All sorts of fun things to put into the museum. And that's a successful day. If you can get things for the museum and Waterbach on at Cerro Gordo, I mean, I can't think of a better day. Hello again.
Did you miss us?
Terribly.
Make any friends?
A few. Found some treasure too, which is always a good thing.
Nice. What were you moving around down here?
Me?
There was loud thumps and thuds.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
When we were going up.
Maybe me's going on. Oh, there you go.
All right, we have arrived, Johnny. Perfect. Give me a light.
The guys came back, and then the real work began. You know, we put in the new pump, and what we learned pretty quickly is that it was not a self-priming pump, meaning the pump sits about 40 yards away from the actual water source. And so there's a water line laying between the pump and the water source. And in that 40 yards, there's a collapse. So this line goes up and over maybe a 4-foot pile of rock. And because of that, it's very difficult to prime the pump, meaning put water in that section of piping so the pump can start. And the pump was not self-priming, meaning it's not going to suck the water out itself. So we had this contraption that basically used a drill to prime a pump. So it sucks water out of one end and pushes in the other. But because we were having to go over that 4-foot hump of dirt, it just wasn't priming the way it should, meaning that portion of line was not getting the water needed to kind of create the suction and for the pump to work. I'm not sure how we're going to solve this last little bit of the pump problem today. And so we were concerned, it seemed like all this was in vain. But then after, maybe 30 minutes of squeezing my hand around this freezing cold pipe in 40-degree water, the pump started spitting out a little bit. And that was exciting. That's the we had gone down there for. And so now I can happily report that water is running. I can't promise how long water will run, but my hope is that I can fill enough storage tanks during this time that it is running to be able to use in the construction of the American Hotel. I'm gonna need a lot of water. I have 3 separate 2,500-gallon tanks that I could fill up, ideally. So ideally I could store 7,500 gallons of water up here, which would go a long ways in this reconstruction effort. So for now, water is back, but ask me again in a week or a month and we'll see how it's going. And I think until then, I'm gonna keep exploring this map of the 700-foot level and create a little bit of a game plan to go back down there, probably with somebody else, and explore some of these areas that I wasn't able to this time.
All right, today we got a new project.
This month, I finally put the finishing touches on something I started almost a year ago. Something that's very near and dear to my heart, a mini golf course. And growing up, golf was always a big part of my life. One of my very first jobs was working at a golf course as the cart guy who cleans them out at the end of the night and plugs them in. And that's where I made some of my best friends. I started playing golf competitively throughout middle and high school, and was probably about a scratch golfer by the time I was 16. And as I got older, the golf got less competitive, but it was always my escape. It was my way to get outdoors, enjoy the weather, and escape any of the stresses that I might have going on. But when I was up here about a year ago, I thought, you know what? It might be pretty fun to create a mini golf course.
Luckily, after cleaning out the church, there is quite a bit of scrap metal, scrap wood, doors, buckets. Got a platform down. We're getting there. I'll map it all out here and then bring it into the mine.
I started getting all the materials ready, and that was in April or May, right around when I got appendicitis. And after I got over the appendicitis, there was dozens more important projects than some mini golf course. But I was talking to an old golfing buddy earlier this month, and it made me realize how much I missed golf. How I really wanted to connect with that childhood passion. So I became determined to finish my little mini golf course, because I think play is important. It's important in your life no matter how old you are. And for the past few months, I haven't just played too much. I've explored a lot. There's always been a purpose behind it, or kind of some mission at hand. And so I just want somewhere to go, mess around, and reconnect with some childhood passions.
See, what I need to figure out now is exactly where the hole will go.
So I need to flatten out this area so it'll come down this way and turn left. And the final bit of green is about 10 feet, so I need to make this area flat for about 10 feet. All right, let's do a little status update. It's been probably 6 months, maybe more since I started. So my idea is a really long hole coming up and over here, accumulating or finishing in this green, which took a very long time to build. And so you can go up here, it's solid. You can putt. It's a little bit higher here, so you can stand up fully. So I got cut in the hole, and that would be it. Since the green is pretty much set, it's time to make my fairways. I just brought back the fairway grass, got my tools. We are going to line these bad boys with some green carpet, have some approach shots into the green. Just making the best use of my time. Starting to look like a green. I took this and cut it down to this. So this is, I'm just gonna go through and make it tight. I got these finishing nails. And that will become the fairway. Next, I need to put like fringe around this, so green carpet around this. It's funny, when I was a kid, what I wanted to be when I grew up was a golf course architect. I used to draw golf courses during all my classes, just over and over and over. Different par 3s, par 4s, par 5s. So all I wanted to do was just design cool courses. So this isn't quite a real golf course, but here I am in a mine, something the elementary school me would have never thought. Now I'm almost done, but I'm trying to cut in the hole. You know, just almost there. And I'm using my little Swiss Army knife. Oh! I had a blast. You know, it's cool to get it done. I'm gonna keep working on it over the next months. I want to make it crazy, you know, with like Ferris wheels and all these insane things. But for now, it's just a place to go back, putt, kind of relax, and just remember, you know, some of my childhood days. A month or so into being here, I realized I wanted some other life form, some heartbeat here, somebody to keep me company. So I called around to some farmers and ended up with some goats. You know, somebody to come out here and at least hear my thoughts as I was ranting them. And after that, a few months later, ended up with some alpacas. And before I knew it, I had a whole farm up here at Cerro Gordo. All right, so it worked out. Got the friends in the back. What's up, guys? And we are on a route back to Cerro Gordo. I love it. Back at Cerro Gordo Street in Mojave. And I'll tell you what, I put on some Jimmy Buffett. These guys back here immediately just laid down. Been perfectly quiet for the last hour or so. Think me and these guys are gonna get along just fine. How you doing? You like this music? Well, good, because I like this music too. The rental process has taken so long that I knew I was up against the sunset to get back to your Cerro Gordo. The last thing in the world that I wanted to do was take a 2-wheel drive minivan with 3 alpacas up an 8-mile dirt road after dark. So I was pushing it getting back. I was humming coming. I even probably should have stopped to fill up, but I was like, you know what? No, I need to get there before the sun fully sets. And off to Cerro Gordo Road we go. Well, hello there. Come with me, please. Go, please. Please come, sir. Please come. Come on. Come on, go. You're free. Welcome to your home. Yay, yay, yay. Look at this, the initial interaction. What do you guys think of each other? Oh, Tchotchke's meeting Tofu. Go. Come on, guys. You're home. The car's at your home. Please. Food? Does food convince you? Food? Come on. Come on. Now I can't get him out of my car. The moment I had been waiting for was the big standoff. You know, when these alpacas are going to meet the goats. So here we have it. The first meeting. Look at them. Goats and alpacas are meeting. I haven't separated for right now just because I don't know how they get along. What do you guys think? You want to go in there? The time has come for these two groups to merge. Friends? You scared? Are you scared? Oh. Each side is scared of each other. By the second year, I was starting to figure out the power that these videos could have. You know, they started off as a hobby, a creative outlet when we were all locked inside. But a year later, there was millions of people following all over the world, and those millions of people could help solve problems.
small and big. And the biggest problem I had going into year 2 was trying to get concrete up here to finally begin the rebuilding of the American Hotel. And it started off as a little whisper, and then it grew to a louder roar, and everybody kept saying, you need to meet up with this guy, Heavy D, Dave Sparks, another guy that made YouTube videos.
The man of the hour, Mr. Dave Sparks.
Made it.
First off, I gotta say thank you.
Hey, thanks
seriously,
for having us, man.
Bottom of my heart, you guys are changing Cerro Gordo's history.
That's our plan. We're happy to be a small part of it.
I gotta say, you guys make an entrance every time you come. Last time was a plane. This time you got. What do you even have?
So this right now, you've only got half the convoy because we actually just did a little detour through Death Valley. Okay. The old GPS switcheroo on us, and added about 2 hours to the route. And our other semi is back there somewhere. So we've got a semi and a motorhome that are following us as well. But I'll show you what we've got right here. We've got basically, this is my Kenworth heavy haul truck. This right here is the golden ticket for Cerro Gordo. This right here is what's going to change the history of the town. This is an off-road mixer truck. It's a 6x6, well, 6-wheel drive. It's got 7 axles, big engine. It's literally designed for off-road cement pouring. So this guy right here is going to be the magic.
I'm going to cut in. How are we getting that thing up here?
So that is going to drive its way up there. That thing is.
Who's driving?
I'm driving.
You're driving?
Yeah, baby, it's a one-seater. That's what anybody who wants to drive. I'm sure by the time we get to the 90th yard of concrete, everyone will have had a turn.
Yes, I get it. I get it.
So it's cool because it's got that big boom on it, and that can kind of reach the hard to reach places for the footings and foundation. Yep. And then we can just mix everything right in there. So 11 yards at a time. Pretty stout truck. Yep. I've got a lot of confidence in this. We did some work on it before we brought it out here. We had some cracks in the frame, fixed those, tuned it up. She's ready. And then we have a second vehicle, which is our support vehicle. It's my F550. It's got a trailer on it. We got a Bobcat skid loader with forks and a bucket. We got a couple generators. We got a bunch of Polaris machines, 2 4-wheelers and a Ranger. Those are going to help us with logistics. And then on the second semi that's coming, we've got 2 of the big 5-ton Army trucks. Those trucks are designed to haul cargo into like literally anywhere, any situation, anytime, and they're super like tough and reliable. Yeah. So those are going to help us get the bags of concrete up to the top of the hill, plus anything else we need to move, steel, all that kind of stuff.
So these are the guys that are responsible for getting all this big heavy stuff up here. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Where are you guys out of?
Yuba City, California. H&S Heavy Haul.
Dang, this is some big stuff.
Yeah.
Have you ever taken it on a road like this?
No, first time. We'll see what
How are you feeling? Are you confident?
We'll see. Confidence can be, right?
Yeah. This is awesome. So this is your first time working with Dave?
Yeah, first time. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. He asked, I told him if you ever needed any help, you reach out to me, and he did. So
yeah. Here we are.
We'll see what we can do for you guys today.
So it begins. The trek up Cerro Gordo Road. Let's talk the logistical nightmare that is bringing concrete to Cerro Gordo. The logistical nightmare that I've been dealing with for the past, 8 months or so. Where to begin? So right now I am sitting in Cerro Gordo at 8,500 feet in elevation. The beginning of this road is at 3,000 feet in elevation. And in between these 2 points, there's a 7-mile dirt road that is not only steep, it has jagged rocks, and at some points it's extremely narrow, making it very difficult to get any type of big trucks or machinery up this mountain. You know, when I started looking around for concrete trucks to come up here, I had 3 or 4 different companies come up here, look at the road, and tell me, no way, we're not coming up, you know, too small for our trucks are gonna get too beat coming up there, our drivers aren't gonna be able to handle it, we're gonna have too many breakdowns and this and that. I gotta say, this is the biggest vehicle I have ever seen coming into Cerro Gordo. That's a truck! All right, look at this. Progress early in the morning. We're out here. People are bending rebar, putting in the forms. Rocking and rolling. It's pretty sweet. Some of you guys might recognize these guys.
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on? Might recognize that guy over there. Good morning.
What's happening, man?
Man, just watching progress. Dave, what do you think?
This is rad.
That's what I'm talking about.
A little work in the mornings, a little mine exploring in the afternoon. Welcome to my everyday, you know?
It's the best. You
Living the dream.
paradise, my friend.
There's no running water though, remember that.
There's no water.
There's no water.
And if you know anything about concrete, concrete requires a lot of water. So this water has to be brought up as well. It has the same problems with the road that the concrete does.
All right, so turns out we unloaded the 8 bags with the loader. Hunter's down there with Bud. Now, before this tire gets flat again, I am going to move all this water, and Johnny is gonna help get it into the other tank, because no water, no concrete, all this is for naught. But if you listen here, we filled this 30 minutes ago. It's already pretty low, so there's a time limit here. Gotta get this water in that tank. I'm excited because I get to use all this new machinery that I never used, you know? I thought I was cool in my backhoe, but now look at this loader. This is a serious loader. Trying not to lose the water, trying not to kill this Jeep that's in front of me. It's got AC in here. There's even like a backup cam. Technology these days, right? All right, the lessons continue. Dave taught me this, but you're gonna teach me this, hopefully.
No thing.
This thing looks fun. Whoa!
Obviously, your basics. You got your gas.
Yep.
Your brake.
Got it.
Okay. Your shifter.
Yep.
Okay. So this doesn't have a park.
Okay.
It only has reverse, neutral, drive, and then your gears. Obviously.
But it's automatic.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Automatic. Take her for a ride.
All right, and we're driving.
The concrete that I'm using are what's called super bags. They're 3,000 pounds each, and you can pour 1 yard of concrete with each bag. The footings that I'm pouring right now require 80 yards of concrete. So that means I need 80 3,000 pound bags here at Cerro Gordo. So to do that, these bags get mixed in Corona, California. They get brought 16 at a time on a flatbed to Keeler, right at the bottom of the mountain where I have a staging area. There, of course, the company doesn't unload them. So we have to unload them with a skid steer, you know, take them off one by one, lower them down. Then you have 3,000 pound bags sitting 8 miles away from the town that need to be brought up here. So Dave brought 2 5-ton military trucks. And so what we've been doing is running up these bags 4 to 6 at a time. And 4 to 6 3,000 pound bags is a lot. You know, that's 12 to 16,000 pounds per load for these trucks. And we're not just talking a load or two, we're talking 20 different runs. You figure 4 bags per run, 80 bags, that's 20 runs. That's a lot of runs on these trucks. That's a lot of trips up and down this steep road where a lot of things can go wrong. And already we've had stuff like the truck's overheating, you know, tires blowing out, all sorts of other things.
I mean, it's got another 100,000 on it.
We're gonna patch it?
I think we can.
Shit. We can. Today's been one thing or the other, huh?
Right?
We made it.
Yeah, it blew like way down there. But I didn't have a choice but to make it.
It's just my eye. Yeah, it's just my eye, dude. Big deal, I got 2 more. Okay, now we gotta get this one on.
When I first moved up here, it was just me. You know, I was here doing what I could when I could, making these videos, trudging around in the snow, having a great time. Then these videos started to get more popular, more people started reaching out. And now that the pandemic's easing and the weather's better, a huge amount of you have reached out to volunteer up here. And I have to say thank you all so much. Everybody that's reached out to volunteer, everybody that's come up to volunteer, it makes things go so much faster. And I would say this month, more than any other month, there's been a lot of volunteers here. This Carson, he's been helping out a lot on the hotel rebuild. What have we been up to?
Digging a lot of trenches, pulling out a lot of dirt, working some rebar, getting everything ready for concrete, basically. I mean, I've been wearing this shirt for 3 days straight.
It's a good shirt.
No shower for a week, so.
You feel like what I feel like.
Yeah, I'm here ready to see it happen, so.
Sweet.
I did some form work this morning with Richard.
Okay.
And then this afternoon, Cody made a road up here.
to bypass the electrical wires behind me, and I built a retaining wall to keep the mountain from coming down on the road.
You're a lot less fun when the camera's on.
Yeah, I know. Less flamboyant as well.
What you been up to for the last couple of days?
Digging trenches, putting up forms, putting up rebar, putting up all kinds of stuff.
You having fun?
Oh yeah,
Long days though?
Yeah.
You excited for
10
Monday?
Oh yeah.
We're pouring.
Pouring.
One way or the other. Tonight might be a late one.
It'll be.
So we're just trying to get everything, you know, prepped in advance for tomorrow, the big day.
Cerro Gordo's first pool. The idea is to get those water cubes into that cement truck. So come tomorrow morning, there's no waiting around. As soon as we get the thumbs up, we start pouring. Because everything's ready. It's only a certain amount of time to get this done. So we want to be pouring, you know, the moment we get the thumbs up from the inspector.
How you feeling?
So we are getting ready to build a concrete truck for the very first time. And starting off with a couple of cubes of water. These are what, 250 gallons apiece. So each load of concrete is going to be approximately 10 bags plus 500 gallons of water. So it's the night before. It's like the night before Christmas right now. I'm literally feeling like a little kid the night before Christmas. So basically the plan here is prep everything, get it all set. And like you said, tomorrow morning, as soon as we get the thumbs up from the inspector, I literally want to be pouring concrete over his thumb because we're ready.
I'm just peeing in here.
Good, good. We can take all the water we can get. Fritz, after seeing what we're working with, how are you feeling?
I feel great.
Good.
I think you guys got a
Good.
freaking great team. I think it's, I'm surprised it's as good as it is up on top of a mountain, you know?
Talk me about.
But concrete, time-tied and concrete waits for no man. So it's all about what we're gonna do today. You know, we can all look at it all we want right now, but.
Once the concrete's here and the water's here, then you gotta mix it. So then you think, we have this mixing truck, so you have to get an excavator to lift up these 3,000-pound bags, bring them over, cut them, allow them to go into the truck, mix them in the right consistency, and then pour it in the right places before the stuff sets.
Oh, it's that crane stuff.
This is it. First pour. This is it. The first run.
So, up or up, down, unlock it. And then when you see it start coming out, slow the drop. Yeah, you're doing like 5 things at once.
Okay, so first 10 yards is successfully in place.
We're leveling it out to the bottom of the board. And I'm feeling better, you know. Didn't know if the concrete truck was gonna work, didn't know if we were gonna pass inspection. So now it's just gonna be a long day of pouring and leveling, which is a good thing.
As time went on, my explorations got more and more complex. What started off as me sneaking 50 feet into a mine with my iPhone light and sneakers on turned into learning how to rappel, turned into getting some headlamps, turned into getting a helmet, and eventually that turned into going to the very bottom of the Union Mine, a place that nobody had been in a really, really long time, the 900-foot level, and I was bringing something special with me.
This, thanks to all of you watching this channel, I got the 1 million subscriber plaque button thing. Look at that, look how shiny it is. I think it's looking great. This is crazy to think about that, you know, 15 months ago, I never made a video in my life. And now, thanks to all your support, 1 million of you have chosen to subscribe to this channel. So I think we all know the real reason that you guys follow this channel, watch along, and the real reason this plaque is here today is because of you, Tofu, Elon maybe a little bit, and Beretta. What do you guys think? Plaque? No, you can't eat it. Elon, calm down. What do you think, Elon? Oh, he's that excited about it, huh? You guys are the real stars of the show, especially you, Tofu. Elon, look at that. That's what you look like. That's what the mirror's like. Guys, Elon, Tofu, I know this is exciting for you, just as it's exciting for me. This plaque, it's been a long time coming. It's exciting. Unfortunately, Tofu, you better take the last look of it, because this plaque is going underground. This plaque is gonna join me right above here in the Union Mine, where we're gonna take this thing 900 feet down the Union Mine to leave it for a future generation. I love finding things back in the mine so much. And can you imagine a long time from now finding this down there in a time capsule of 2021 and what YouTube was. So without further ado, let's take this thing up there and bring it down a mine.
We got water, it's party time, let's go down.
Copy that, I'll get Coach back to
Bishop? You mean Independence in a little trailer. Is that a audio?
Yep.
Can you hear the heartbeat of the water?
I can hear the heartbeat, yeah.
Let's just keep doing continuous radio checks. And go to a flash when you come to the end of the rail.
So we started down, and very quickly, my feelings dropped. I think the whole mood in the cage turned from one of great excitement of what's below, of, oh shit, I hope we can make it back up.
Maybe about 50 feet below us, there's something hanging in the middle, hanging off this side of the shaft a little bit. You see that?
Oh, yeah. Hey, stop.
All right.
Rope is getting lined up in it. Okay, tell them go ahead and go. Stop. I think we're,
Yeah, you stopped, Jeff.
We're good.
no, we're stuck, aren't we?
No, it's a rope.
Well, maybe. Was it in the track? See if you can pull us up or let it down. Let it down. Okay, we got rope stuck in the track. Can you pull us up maybe a foot? It's just...
Copy, coming up.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of sticky. I think I don't like this idea.
Is that okay?
Let's go a little bit more up. That's pretty sticky, boys. Yeah. Don't know that you're going down in this thing, Brett. All right, hold down.
You know, the goal was just to cut it, give it some room to breathe, to bow out a little bit so the cage could float past. It was a tense 15 minutes of just sawing on this guide rail, trying not to fall down the shaft, passing it from one person to the other so we could saw from different angles, trying to get the thing loose, not knowing if we could go down any further, but not knowing if we could go back up either.
You probably can't get in that hole. Oh, hell no. Is there a bolt? No, it's tight. You can't suck it in.
Luckily, after a bunch of work, cage passed.
All right, past another obstacle of sorts. And we're keeping going down.
Virgin territory. It's like first day of kindergarten.
Yeah. There we go. Now we're good.
Long blade. Getting about a quarter inch off that thing.
I'd say 20 feet we got this thing hanging out. It looks just
like we'll clear it, or it's on your side. I can't see it.
It's just a plank. It's just a loose plank.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
See it?
Yeah, it might flip though.
It might flip up and drop down the shaft.
You got, what do you want to do? Well, give us, I'll head slow until we get down.
Yeah, just keep going.
Up, just call off the feet on it.
I might just be able to kick it out of the way.
Okay.
Let me see. We're 5 feet away.
Is it attached to anything?
No, it's a tiny little board. Forget.
Yeah. Okay.
We're probably going to clear it.
We're going to clear it? Okay.
If not, it's just going to flip and it's going to fall down. See how tiny it is?
Right. I don't want to get wedged
No, I
between
know.
the two of them, so you know the drill.
Yep.
You want to hold that way, kick it out of the way? You got it.
I'll get it. I got it. We're good.
Okay, we're clear of obstructions. Proceed on down. The skip is nice and loose. Make sure you radio me back so we can tell if we're getting scratchy or not.
Yeah, copy that. I can still hear you.
The further we got down towards the 900-foot level, the more the cage started acting up. You know, it was chattering as if it was stuck, but it was free from any obstruction.
So what do you got going down there, Craig?
We're dangling totally free, but it's like it's choppy. It's jumping as we're going down, and we're not getting caught anywhere.
So it's either we got a problem with the head wheel or something, because it's acting weird at the hoist too. I'm having a hard time keeping it steady, but it's not rattling or anything like that. It's just acting like the shaft's really tight.
Yeah, like I said, we're dancing around down here. It's just dangling, not touching anything. If you want to try another 20 feet, if it doesn't feel good, we'll figure something out.
Okay, the only other thing I can think of is the cable is stiff from being in that position for so long. And now, I mean, it hasn't moved in forever, and we're trying to make it move, and that could be causing some weird binding and stuff. We're looping the head wheel more right now, so hopefully that might help. Other than that, there isn't a whole lot else I can do.
Oh shit. What?
You seen the bottom?
The cable came down and grabbed me.
We got a big old, oh, look at that, there's the bottom.
Yeah, I see something sitting there.
And then there's got this guide rail popping out though. I'm just talking to the camera.
We got a lot of gaps.
That's it.
On my left too, or?
Yeah, it's great.
You got a little bow in this one on this side, Craig. See right here. We're dancing pretty good though.
No, we've got 3 inches. I think we may be okay.
We're approaching the bottom. 900 feet down. The Union Mine.
Woohoo!
And look at that, we all get to explore.
The first time the skiff has been down here, and
yeah.
Who knows when.
Who knows when.
Now let's hope it'll pull it back up.
Details.
Let's
Details.
not talk about
yeah,
that.
we'll just explore for a little bit.
Shut the
This is it, guys.
Wow. Holy schnitzel.
900 feet down.
Look over here. Oh, wow. Trent, get over there.
Here's the shit right here, man. Look at this.
Dang. That's, wow.
Okay, can you copy?
They probably stop.
2 more feet.
Maybe stop.
Copy that.
Go ahead, stop.
Stop. Woo!
Okay, we're going to have to climb out, boys. All right, let's down. We have arrived.
Sounds good.
And for me, I turned just slightly, and immediately I recognized what I was looking at.
Oh man, I remember a photo from right here.
Yeah. What you gonna do down there? It's up to you guys.
Because I realized the photo in the general store here of one of the old owners in the late 1800s or 1900s is taken at this exact point on the 900-foot level where this black and white sign is that shows different things about the different levels. And that sign immediately clicked with me as a sign that's still there. And it was incredible.
Whoa, look at that. Mine, telephone signals. One long ring.
Down on the bottom right, it says Cerro Gordo.
Oh, shit, it does. Yeah, you're right. It says one long ring, hoist, one short, Newtown?
Newtown?
Yeah, that's a long ways away.
Well, maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe that's the next exploration. Look at that. Newtown.
So, yes. Like
unless they printed the
orders.
or
United States orders for underground, probably mining.
Yeah.
Oh, state of California.
Oh.
It should be dated down the bottom corner usually. On that
Bottom
kind of
right, but it's
all
order
done.
1708. You ought to be able to look that order up.
Yeah.
1708.
Wow, this thing is crazy too. Cage capacity, 4 men only.
Thank God. I want to stay down. 117. Hang on a second. Sure can. Let's go at least 45 minutes. Huh?
Yeah, 2 o'clock.
900 cage capacity, 4 men. What's this? No smoking within.
900 feet under the ground.
Doesn't love.
Holy shit. There's a lot of dynamite down there. Tons. Look at all that dynamite. Well, look down there, see all those?
Have that.
You see all that?
Oh shit, yeah.
That's a lot of dynamite.
Yeah, let's.
Woo!
And sure enough, at the bottom of this hole was just so many sticks of red dynamite, you know, thicker than I've ever seen any dynamite before, all just kind of tossed down there. I had to use all of my common sense to not go down there and try to get one of these things because they look amazing.
Now the time has come. Time for this. Go somewhere. I'm gonna go find a resting place for this fine thing. Where, oh, where should this go? Goodbye, sweet plaque. Thank you all so much for all the support over the time. You know, I obviously couldn't do this without all of you, every single one of you. So thank you. And since mines are such a big part of this channel's exploration, it only feels appropriate to leave this 1 million subscriber plaque down here at the 900 level of Cerro Gordo. So inside this ore cart, I feel is the appropriate place to leave this letter from YouTube. Thank you, YouTube, but it's now staying down in the Union Mine. So how do you think we're gonna be going back up?
Not well.
All right, headed back up.
Up and away.
It's a long ways up.
Yes, it is.
Heading back by the 700. Sounds like the water's still on. We survived.
We're
On
back.
the final descent. Well, I guess it's a little too early to say that.
Heat, warmth. Hello.
Food.
Pretty cold down there.
Walking the air conditioning.
Yeah.
Low alcohol lights are on.
All right.
Did you have an enjoyable adventure?
That was fun. And we all got to go. Thank you for not killing us.
You bet. You bet. Must have service. Oh yeah. Jesus.
Hey, popular dude.
The more time I spend at Cerro Gordo, the deeper I dive into the history, the characters, and the processes up here. And the more it just makes my experience here that much richer. It just feels like I'm coloring in black and white puzzle pieces that make up the entire existence here. And if you're gonna understand the history of a mining town, it's pretty important that you understand mining. And so finally, I dipped my toe into the process of refining the ore that built Cerro Gordo, and that opened up all sorts of doors. And the primary mineral that they were mining at Cerro Gordo was galena. And galena contains a lot of lead and a very little bit of silver. And over the past 3 years owning Cerro Gordo, I found deposits of galena left in the 30 miles of mines underneath the town. And I always wondered, what does it take to go from this down to a pure silver? Because that process, this pursuit of silver is the reason I'm here. It's the reason that this patch of earth has
the history that it does. You know, the pursuit of silver brought thousands of men and women to come up and live here. You know, it required hundreds of buildings to be built, and it developed that history that I've dedicated my life to try to understand and to teach to people that come up and on this channel. So it would seem that a big part of understanding the history of Cerro Gordo is understanding how they mine the minerals and how they refine them here at Cerro Gordo. So this week, after 3 years, I'm gonna take this book from 1886 that I found here in the assay office called Notes on Assaying and try to create silver for myself. And so the first step in all of this is I had to collect galena. Today, the mission is to find some galena to then refine. I always thought it'd be cool to take, you know, the raw silver lead ore here and make it down into pure silver, maybe make it into some jewelry. So the quest for the next few days is just to collect all the galena I can find around the property. This is the stope, and hopefully that is the galena. That's galena. See the sparkle? That's galena. Oh, got a big boy piece. Yeah. There's a bunch up here. Is this a, no. Blends in so well though. See the shiny metallic? See how shiny that is? Glitter City. All right, that's going in the backpack. This little pocket seems to have a lot. See, there's another. See that? It's another 5-10 pound piece. Getting a good amount. This pocket, oh, there's another piece. I think we only need like 20 pounds to get the amount that I want to make. Well, that was relatively quick, you know. Came, wanted 20 pounds of galena. Probably got at least that. Gonna get out of here because this is overstoped and all these big boulders have fallen down over time. So no reason to spend more time in here than we need to. So gonna get out of here, go back home, weigh this galena that we got, see how many pounds it is. Try to make this into some silver. $25 pounds. That'll do. Sweet. So, step 1, collected galena. Step 2, came back here, had all the chemicals arrive in the mail that I needed. And from there, I was just exploring. So, notes on assaying. So somebody had this and was learning in 1901. And I think that I'm here sitting, trying to learn the same thing 120 years ago from the same book. Is a super cool way to start this. All right, so if we dive into this book, there are 5 simple steps in making this galena down into silver. Simple, obviously, is not true. So, step number 1, sampling and pulverizing. All right, we're here in the assay office. Pulverize using the grinding plate and rubber, which we have down here. All right, we're gonna pulverize. It's very shiny, as you can see. Very excited. I think we're gonna knock it out first try. Step 1, we're gonna nail this, have perfect silver. Doing it the old school way of doing it, kind of like they used to. The really exciting thing for me about going through this process is just having a deeper understanding into the assay process and just the life of an assayer. The job of the assayer was try to determine how much the value of the mineral content in a certain claim. And he would do the math. He would say, hey, I put in 30 grams of ore, I got out 1 gram of silver. I can extrapolate that to tell you that the value of the tonnage of your claim is X. And so really, like, miners' dreams came into an office like this to either be made or be crushed. And the majority of the time, an assayer's job was crushing miners' dreams. But because of that excitement, you have to imagine the assayer back in the mining towns knew more about that hill than anybody else, even more than the big owners. You know, there are stories where investors, engineers, everybody used to huddle around assay offices like this, just weighing the news of the next big strike, you know? So there was always potential excitements inside of walls like these, you know, guys just coming here and knowing that maybe that was gonna be the day where they finally struck it rich, or
that was the day where they were gonna have to go out, find another claim, and do it all over again. As you can see, it's getting much, it's kind of like powder. So I'm putting it through here. That is what we were looking for. Nice fine grade galena, yum. Throw a tablespoon of that a day. Well, you'd probably die, but you know, we're not gonna die. So first, I'm gonna put in the toasted galena, borax. Now I'm gonna add in the litharge or lead oxide. Finally, baking soda. It's crazy to think about back in the day how they figured this out. You know, how did they figure it out to put this? How did they get all of these chemicals to fill this much crucible? And at the end of this, you have to imagine we're doing all of this, and in the end, we hope to have a tiny little button of silver that's barely gonna fill the bottom of this thing. Step 3, you got your stuff in the crucible, you throw it in, and with that, we will see you when you're closer to being silver. That is how hot it is. I'll wait for this to cool down a little bit, for that slag to form on top. So you pull out your slag, you break it, and at the bottom, you get the next step, which is the lead button. All right, this is the moment of truth. Now, if everything went right, you're left with lead and silver. And so after that, you come to the second to last step in this process, cupellation. And cupellation is where you take a cupel. What you're gonna do is you're gonna put the silver and lead in here, this lead button, heat this thing up. This thing is made out of animal bones. And so what's gonna allow the lead to do is to oxidize when the silver won't oxidize, and the lead will get absorbed into this bone ash, and you'll be left with a tiny little bead of silver. And in the end, you get that. The tiniest bead of silver from that amount of galena. A great place to start if I was looking to add artifacts to the museum here would be metal detecting. You know, people drop things all the time, they hide them, they don't give them back, they hide them, then they're murdered, all sorts of things. But over the past 2 years here, I just could never get into metal detecting. You know, it's just something that I'm not good at. But I knew I was missing opportunities for amazing artifacts that could be all around me. So finally, a few weeks ago, I had this idea that, hey, you know, a lot of you are much better at metal detecting than I am, are probably a little bit more patient, and so why not invite a lot of people out and see what we can find? I guess first off, thanks to everybody for being here. This is a little overwhelming. This is by far the most people I've seen here at one time, but that's really cool. I'm very excited. I think we're gonna find a lot of cool stuff today. Back in the day when Cerro Gordo was at its peak, in the 1870s, Tiberico Vasquez, which the Vasquez rocks are named after outside of LA, was a big bandit back in the day. And he used to rob Cerro Gordo. And so one of these times that he was coming up, all the men left to go meet him and his guys to hold them off. And all the women in the town put all of their valuable stuff into cans and hid them. And then a couple days later, apparently they forgot where a lot of those cans were. And so maybe today, we can find some of those cans and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get to find some cool stuff.
Yeah. And with that, we set out to find some artifacts from the past. One of my favorite things that was evident at this event was just all the help that Cerro Gordo has around it these days. You know, coordinating and arranging 50 people from all over the country to come and stay was just not possible 20 months ago. You know, if I was trying to do all that, it definitely would have failed. But these days there's this team that's developed around the town. You know, there's Scotty who handles all the volunteer coordination, which makes my life just so much easier. And there's a half dozen or so local volunteers that are just
always ready to help out. You know, and in total, it took something like 10 volunteers to make sure everybody arrived safely and got to their designated camping spots. And just knowing that that support system exists around the town makes me confident that the progress here will continue, you know, which makes me super happy. Day one began. It kind of just looked like ants, you know, spreading out everywhere across the property. We had people here from aged 8 all the way into their 70s, you know, but the kind of shared passion for history connected everybody. And that was evident, you know, talking to the different people.
Yeah. I'm Andrew and Tam Faulkner. We're from Modesto. Sometimes people don't like you to come out and metal detect on their property. So this seems like a great opportunity.
So this is where Belshaw's furnace was. So he did all the smelting. Oh. There used to be a massive building here. And from my understanding, they used to do like 50 tons of galena refining here a day. The technology wasn't there fully to get all the minerals out of back in the day. So there's still a decent amount of lead and silver in there. They just couldn't get out. So my goal for day one was just to go around and get to know everybody a little bit. You know, all these people spent time out of their week to come here and help find new artifacts for this museum. And so Chris and I just bounced around and interviewed everybody. You know, tried to get to know them a little bit, why they came out here. And it was super cool.
I'm Mark Greck from Porter Ranch, California, and I think I've watched all of Brent's YouTube channel episodes, so I'm pretty well versed with the area. And when I saw the first mention of a metal detecting group coming out here, I quickly went out and I bought a metal detector, and it's my new hobby.
I was going to ask them permission through you to come up on a weekday someday and do this, you know? But, oh, this is perfect. This is 50 people. Yeah. This big of an area.
I'm from Lyons, Colorado. I'm here with my son Hunter. He's down there detecting. We do mine exploring, and we're just adventurers. And we flew out last night to Los Angeles, stayed overnight, got up early, and we're here, and we can't believe it.
It's so great being here. I love it.
My great-grandparents ran a resort in the San Gabriel Mountains from 1919 until 1944, so I've been doing the same sort of exploration up there.
My name is Bryce. I'm 8. I'm really excited because I found a campsite and I can't wait to dig up some new things.
And I'm Evan. I'm 9 years old, and I'm excited to find some coins if we do.
You know, not even an hour into it, we found our first coin. And it was a nickel from 1850, about 15 years predating the town. And I like to imagine, you know, how did that nickel end up there? You know, was the guy living in the mine and dropped it? Was it from somewhere above there that fell down? And how was it not found in the last 170 years?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I think that says 1850.
Yeah, it says 1850.
Generally with ghost towns, not as many people, you know, are detecting on hillsides. And then, you know, something falls out of your pocket and rolls down the hill.
Totally.
You're not ever going to find it.
You know, maybe 30 minutes later, we were on to coin number 2. Down by the American Hotel, a guy uncovered an Indian head penny from 1892.
It's got a little corrosion on it, but it's in really good shape. You can't read the Liberty. I wouldn't want to brush it. Never want to brush a coin.
Coin? Boom! That's what I'm talking about. How did that penny get there? Was it slip through the cracks of the hotel? Did Butch Cassidy or one of the other infamous bandits that hid out here at some point in time touch it? Or was it the worker from the hotel, you know, who dropped it and spent 30 minutes trying to find it for it to never be found for another 130 years? I don't know, but I do know that I was here. And so as day one was coming to lunchtime, things were looking good. You know, we were finding a lot of stuff.
1870 seated dime.
I had never found any coins before. And at lunch, I did the same thing. You know, I kind of just stood back and observed and watched this beautiful community of people just bond over common interest. You know, an interest in not just the town, but the history of the American West, of metal detecting, of just a love of preserving history.
Give a box. But look at this. This is chimney. It's collapsed.
Yeah.
And it's kind of loose. It's loose, so all the rocks, see? So they just fell. So they was burning something here. And if I would be a woman who want to hide something, that's where I would be hiding.
Yeah. And as I was going through, you know, I was not just getting to know the people, but I was getting to know a little bit more about metal detecting too. You know, I would watch
the different methods and techniques that everybody took to the metal detecting. You know, some would pour the sand in their hand and metal detect it each time before they did it this way. Some were using a screen. Some were blocking out any metals that weren't precious metals to hopefully find something bigger.
So we just take a little bit out of the hand, you know. It's like a little piece of, it's like an axe head or something. It's kind of triangular.
It's either a voting box or a piggy bank.
Whoa. So the plan of day one was to wrap right around 4. You know, I thought it'd be a really cool idea for everybody to come back, gather. You know, we do this show and tell where everybody showed what they found for the day. Everybody started adding their items to this table. And it was awesome, you know, it was to see this previously empty table just get filled with Cerro Gordo artifacts. Just put a huge smile on my face. You know, it was just something that everybody felt like they played a little part in, which they did. If you want to kind of circle around, I'll kind of go over some stuff. There's a 1850 dime. Who found this? Who found this? At least as far as coins, this was the oldest coin of the day. 170 years old. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a pretty sweet one. There's a close behind it 1858 dime as well, that I believe was found in Newtown. Who found the 1858? All right, that was Newtown, right? Yeah. A silver ring, super interesting. It has like a Greek or Roman character on it of some type, and some type of initials. Considering I just spent about 4 weeks of my life making a silver ring about this size, I'm very appreciative of any type of ring that's like that. Super cool coffee pots with filters on them, horseshoes. The lock was awesome. Yeah, very cool. So like collectively, you know, find all these things was super cool.
This hole behind me is just that. It's basically a hole inside of a mountain with a couple doors in front of it and some pieces of wood on the floor. And my hope, my dream really, is to make this into a beautiful library. You know, with an amazing floor down, maybe some rugs, comfortable chairs, bookshelves, chandelier. I don't know how far we'll go, but it's just, the history in this town is so important to me. It's what keeps me here. It's what drives me every day to explore the abandoned mines or talk to people that have relatives that once lived here or read a bunch of books. And so I think first step is a little tour. All right, so the first thing to note about this is that there's actually 2 doors you have to go through to get in. There's the steel door, and behind it, a secondary door that you also have to unlock. And if you look at this wood and how well preserved it is, it makes me think that this environment in here is gonna be perfect for preserving these old books for just years to come. You know, you look on the wall and there's documents of 1917, 1911. You know, they brought in 39 boxes of 40% in 1911. It's crazy. You know, all of this is talking about how many boxes they brought in and the percentage. So 30% nitroglycerin, 40% nitroglycerin, and so on. And so with that, the grand reveal is this. Right now, an open space where there was once a floor they must have taken out, but I hope to kind of clear this out, put beautiful wood on the bottom. I think I'm going to use these 2x12s that they have already started with, and to get them I'm going to go down into the Union Mine and scavenging any good wood from there, because I think for a floor for a basement it would just be very appropriate if it was, you know, from the mine itself. So I'll try to get some stuff like this. We'll get it together nice, maybe put a rug underneath this. You can see in the later years, probably in the zinc era, they did run power into here. I don't think that's gonna work for us, but I would love to get just a chandelier there. You know, this old time-correct chandelier, and then build some bookshelves all around the walls. And the bookshelves also to be built from the mine wood, from the mine itself. I gotta say, as somebody who loves books and loves libraries, I can't think of a cooler library, especially for a mining town, than an old dynamite vault. Now that I got the wood out of the mine, it's time to start cleaning up this place. So I'm gonna get in here, start leveling it out, you know, raking this floor even, so that way
We have a relatively straight floor. For now, I'm just gonna get some of this loose rock out of here. All right, getting a little bit smooth, as you can see, cleaning it out a little bit. And all of this stuff's actually nailed together. So I might just work off of the wood that's already in here. Because if you look at that, dead level. So since these are already in here and level, I think we're gonna work off of those. Still have to clean out a little bit more back there, but you can kind of start seeing it come together now. You know, I think this could be a really special space. So I wanna bring in some experts. So we got a guy all the way from the UK, you know, a watcher of this channel that's on his way up. That's gonna help build this thing, which I'm pretty excited about. All right, so the first step in all this is gonna be taking these and just kind of rough laying them out, almost like a jigsaw puzzle, you know? All right, so this is all of the wood that I got from that first trip laid out. So obviously, this is not enough wood to do all the way to the end that I wanted. So that's gonna mean another trip down into the Union Mine. But even just jigsawing, laying it out like this, it's exciting, you know, to see a floor in here almost brings it to life. I want to keep the original character of this. You know, I try to think about a few things. You know, one, where was the tree this came from? It was probably across Owens Valley, you know, by Horseshoe Meadows or something. And then the guy who cut it, the miner who put it down as a, you know, support for the mine shaft at the 700 level. Did he ever think that 150 years later, you know, somebody would be taking it back up to make a library, you know, memorializing some of the historic feat that he was part of here at Cerro Gordo. You know, he was part of history, and I can't imagine that that circle of life happened, but I just love reusing wood, and I love looking at the character of it. All of this wood has been touched by history, you know, in a way. It's been touched by the miners here at Cerro Gordo, and so just get rid of some of this fur so it's not scratching everybody up, and then seal it. When all is said and done, this is gonna be a library to remember. All right, so we're sanding them down, making them look pretty. Next step after that, we got some varnish over here. We're gonna take this in here, seal it, so that way the boards look real good. But this is that wood from the mine, already looking so beautiful. And so with a little bit of this on top, we'll be looking good. So that's the next move. These will become our shelves for the old library. It's exciting, you know? A lot of steps, but it's gonna be sweet when it's done. As I'm putting on this varnish, look how cool this is. Like this is going to have so much more red than this piece. So you can tell they're using different species, and even the cut lines. See the cut lines there are circular, and over here they're straight. It's so rewarding just to put that stuff on and see this stuff come to life. It's beautiful. Look at all these different colors. There's like the lighter one, darker, a little darker. And this one with the kind of black almost in it. Then almost that. It's beautiful. And they're all unique.
So, floor's all down now, and all fixed in, secure. So we're going to get going with the lacquer, give it a nice satin gloss finish. Give it a nice deep colour and get it ready for the library.
Hell yeah.
After the floor was down, the next step was shelves. You know, what is a library without bookshelves? And so when we were thinking through the bookshelves, Phil, Dylan, and Lawrence took this hike, and they just went above the hoist house a little bit and found these beautiful pipes, you know, that must have been, who knows, from 100 years ago, but they were just these thick, sturdy pipes that they decided were gonna be perfect for kind of the uprights for the shelves. And I have to give full credit where credit is due. I was not that creative. I was thinking maybe we'd find some old wood, but what we ended up doing is just drilling these circular holes in the middle of these 2x12s, and then using these old bolts that we found on the property as a support, and these shelves went up, and I was blown away. A few days ago, this was just an empty room of nothing, and now it's a library.
It's a library.
I don't think this library.
Officially.
I don't think this thing's going anywhere for a very, very long time.
No.
Look at this. So I'll put a rug down, put some more books in there, but this is looking like a library back in an old powder magazine. That is freaking awesome.
Going into my second year at Cerro Gordo, things were going amazing, at least on the outside. You know, millions of people were following along with the progress. People cared about this town in a way that I could have never imagined. The hotel was finally off the ground. But inside, the reality was I was close to rock bottom. I was severely depressed, anxious all the time, sometimes incapable of even doing daily tasks, to the point where eventually I was prescribed Klonopin, which is a benzodiazepine, which causes all sorts of other issues. But I got there for a bunch of reasons. You know, it had been 2 years of 14-hour days where I was pushing forward every day as hard as I could. I had lost 30 pounds. I was sore and tired all the time. And I had this intense pressure upon myself to continue making videos every week. You know, I just felt like that was the key to this town's future. And in those, I didn't feel fully comfortable talking about anything that wasn't the brightest points of my day. I just think that that's not why people were watching videos. And so I eventually felt like I was playing a character of myself in the videos, which is a very strange feeling to feel, where you don't know if you're imitating the person that you were in front of the camera or if you're really who that is behind that, to the point where it was very confusing. And at the same time, my buddy, who had chipped in a little bit of money to help me buy Cerro Gordo because I didn't have enough money, had moved and he was no longer interested in the project. And so I had the pressure to find the funds to buy him out. And I had gotten into a disagreement with an international mining company that wanted to do some mining around Cerro Gordo. And that was mostly successful. But as part of that, a member of their team decided to work with a journalist to try to put together a hit piece about my past and anything they could dig up from anybody. So they were contacting everybody they could find from my entire past. And I felt like I had brought all this upon myself by putting myself out there making videos, and I just felt like the walls were closing in around me. And being by myself up here, it's even harder to deal with these things. And you know, on the worst days, it was just, I didn't want to do any of this anymore. And my friends and family that interact with me, you know, on a daily basis, they were concerned, rightfully so. And my only thought was to keep pushing forward. You know, I thought that the solution to most of this was for Cerro Gordo to continue on. And so we kept pushing, and we did some really big projects in the meantime. Despite any of my mental woes, I was still trying to see progress in the town, put one foot in front of the other, because sometimes the best way out is through, and accomplishing things, especially big things, helped me forget about any of the behind the scenes drama for a little bit. And if something big is getting accomplished, that often means that Dave Sparks is around, and that is exactly the case when it came to bringing a 40,000 gallon water tank up our road. All right, so first, why do we need 40,000 gallons of water in an abandoned mining town? That is a very good question. And the answer is, right now we have no reliable water source here. And two, we are trying to build a hotel up to modern code. You know, just to my left here is what formerly was the American Hotel that we sadly lost to a fire in 2020. And pretty much every day since, I've been dedicated to getting this hotel rebuilt and it probably is the project that means more to me than anything in the world. The plans called for a fire sprinkler system. And this fire sprinkler system has to be able to run for 60 minutes straight without running out of water. And across 3 floors, basement, first floor, and second floor, that all adds up to about 36,000 gallons of water. The only water that we have right now is 700 feet down a mine shaft and replenishes at about 15 gallons per hour. So obviously that wasn't gonna work. So I started looking at tanks. And it turns out that a 40,000 gallon tank is very hard to come by. So after a lot of searching around, a lot of logistics, I finally came upon one in Fresno, California. And there's a guy named Pat there, and we figured it out. You know, we found the right tank, the right size, actually overcapacity for what I needed. But then the tank's still in Fresno. And then the logistics really start. You know, this thing, again, is 47 feet long and 12 feet around. You know, it's so big that even to move it from Fresno, you need special permits to bring it on the road. And even if you can bring it on the road and get it to the bottom of a mountain, you still have a 7-mile dirt road that increases 1 mile in elevation on the way up. Luckily, I do have some friends that are pretty amazing at insane logistics. The Diesel brothers, you know, Heavy D and Diesel Dave, have been up here before. Just about a year ago, no concrete company wanted to come up that road. And so we mixed 80 yards of cement here on site. It was probably one of my favorite days I've ever had at Cerro Gordo. And so now I'm very fortunate that the days are coming back and it's all happening tomorrow. And in less than 24 hours, there is going to be a lot of digging and a lot of movement going around this abandoned ghost town.
This is quite the apparatus that we've had to build. To be able to move this tank, it's a challenge. The tank is huge. The tank is literally almost twice the size of this truck. It's 11 feet in diameter, 47 feet long, weighs 25,000 pounds roughly. And we're gonna just stack it right on top of the hammock here. And it's gonna be a wild ride getting up that canyon road. It's the only way I can think of to do it. There's no trailer, no way that it's gonna get up there. We literally had to have something sit right underneath the middle of it that is very maneuverable. And even then, it's gonna be tricky. Nice thing is the tank is gonna be sitting really high, so it'll clear all the low obstacles, which that road has a lot of low kind of carved out spots that are hard to get around. The higher you go, the more clearance we get. So, because the tail swing, because the tank's still gonna be sticking out like back here. And then the same like 5 or 10 feet over the front. So it's just gonna be kind of like doing this up the canyon road. But Iram and Pedro are my guys. They stayed last night until 1 or 2 a.m. and just got this thing done. I just told them what we needed, and I said it doesn't have to be pretty, doesn't have to look nice, just freaking, we're gonna use timbers to just stack it. But Iram doesn't know how to do anything not pretty or not nice, so his welds are perfect, everything's beautiful, even though we use some scrap steel for it. Dude, we're rolling, man. This thing's a beast.
All right, guys, so after a long day, well, a long couple days of prep, especially building brackets and stuff for the hammock to be able to haul the water tank, we're getting ready to hit the road. We were supposed to be on the road by about 4 today. It's now close to like 7:38, so we're getting a little bit of a late start. It's okay though, because we were leaving early anyways to give us a buffer to get there. Now our buffer is just a little bit smaller, so we're going to be able to get a little less sleep tonight, if any at all. And the plan is to roll into Cerro Gordo tomorrow morning, right around 9 or 10 o'clock. Harmon with H&S Transport is going to meet us there with the tank and excavator. Stepped up big time again, my man. He's been chomping at the bit ever since last year. He's like, hey, when are you guys going? When are you guys going? When can I help? So I called him up and said we got this project to do. So him and a couple of his guys are coming down tomorrow. We're going to meet them, probably roll into Cerro Gordo. They'll be there by like 2 or 3. Unload the tank, unload the excavator, stack the tank on top of the Hemet, and then work our way up to Cerro Gordo. This is going to be one hell of a haul, guys. Probably one of the craziest hauls we've ever done, to be honest with you, because we're going to be like 25 feet tall by the time we have the water tank on top of the Hemet. It's going to be nuts.
All right, so you can see we got the military truck here to the staging area. Harmon is coming within the next 30 minutes with the actual tank itself, and at which point we're going to try to bring
the tank up on the semi as far as we can. This is pretty much as far as we think we can get. We're probably a mile up the road right now. But if you look at this thing, this has all been fabricated by Dave back in Utah specifically to carry the tank. It's already about 5 o'clock right now. So we have our work cut out for us to get this done by nighttime. Harmon showed up, you know, we could see his truck coming from just literally miles away. It was this massive, like missile looking thing coming our way. I, of course, had to jump on top of the tank, you know, take a little couple photos, really get into the spirit. I was feeling really good. I have to say, the sight of that tank showing up was just super exciting for me. You know, when you think about the puzzle that is Cerro Gordo and the puzzle that is the American Hotel, there's pieces small and large, and I think that the water tank here was definitely a large puzzle piece. You know, that was one that where if you get that to snap into place, you feel pretty good about yourself on the whole puzzle that you're doing.
We're not even going to want the chain up there. We're going to want to go shackle to a tank.
Oh, you want to go shackle?
Yeah, because I don't want any slack in it because we don't have that much room to lift.
And so once we got finally to the staging area, you know, the tank was there, the loader was there, the excavator was there, the military truck was there with the pipes on top of it. It was just a function of, okay, now what? And luckily this tank had 2 huge hooks on either side of it. And so basically the plan was to take the loader bucket, hook it to one end, take the excavator arm, hook it to the other end, lift the thing up, you know, kind of like 2 dual cranes at the same time, get the flatbed that it came on out of the way, back the military truck back up to where it was, and then just slowly lower it down onto it.
Oh man, that's sitting exactly how I envisioned it.
Diesel Dave and I jumped on the top of the tank. You know, we got the straps down after we loaded it on, and then came the fun part. You know, then this tank was secured and we had to get it up the hill. And I remember before we started taking it up, we were making bets. And Scotty here was like, I think it's gonna take 2 hours to go through the narrows, kind of the twisty turny part of the road here. Because he thought we were gonna have to go, pick up the end of it, move it around, this and that. I said 2 minutes. You know, I had a lot of confidence in Dave and his crew. They just know how to get stuff done. And it was funny because when it came time to drive it up, I was in my truck ahead of everybody. And I remember kind of going slow and then looking in my rear view mirror, and this truck is just hauling. You know, Dave's like gaining on me in my regular truck. So I was like, oh damn, I gotta get out of the way. So to be honest, it went way smoother than I thought it was gonna be. You know, this thing was just going around these turns, handling it with care. It was probably the most ridiculous piece of machinery. No, it definitely was the most ridiculous piece of machinery that's ever been brought up the Yellow Grade Road here. I mean, when else would have they ever brought something that big? When else has this town ever had that much capacity to store water ever? You know, it's just such a huge piece of this town. And to see it just twisting and turning through the narrows, past the narrows, over and up all the bumps, and just handling the road with ease was awesome. Also, the ease of which it was handling the road gave Diesel Dave and I an idea. We thought, hey, you know, this thing seems to be handling the road pretty well.
And so Dave and I scrambled up to the top of the tank, and we kind of ended up surfing for the last half of the ride. And I gotta say, like, when I think back to kind of some of my most fun, specific moments over my last 2.5 years here, that's in the top 5, top 3 easily, is just standing on the top of this tank, you know, just arms of the wind, full Titanic mode at some points, where just going like this off the bow of this massive tank that's on top of a massive military truck. I remember just like the success of how the trip was going, you know, how easy it was going, and Dave up there just being so excited, just got me excited, and it was just the most epic way that I could have ever imagined to bring this tank into town. You know, the tank, when it was on the military truck, probably sat 20 feet tall, so it was really difficult to get it anywhere. And the location of this tank needed to be at least 10 feet above where the pump was gonna be, but it needed to be accessible. You know, I wanted it close to town so we could access it for a variety of different reasons, for filling reasons, for this and that. You know, no matter what, it was gonna require a pump. And so I didn't want to trench in, you know, all the way up from the hoist. We might do that for a future water tank, maybe the potable water. So that meant there's this area just below the Gordon house. So just below one of the main houses here, there was a flat spot that was above the hotel by at least 20, 25 feet. So it was sitting definitely high enough, you know, to get the PSI to get down to the pump for the sprinkler system and all that. And if you look down there, you see the massive tank, you see the massive military truck, and you see where we're trying to put it. And there's no real road between here and there. So really the first part of today is gonna be cutting in a whole new road just to put this tank in. You know, we're gonna probably cut a road straight up here to be able to put this and position it here. All of this dirt's gonna get moved around when we backfill the hotel anyways. I'm excited to get this thing in place. It's gonna be a huge step for the hotel. You know, to try to get 40,000 gallons of water here is very difficult, but today's the day. So Dave jumped into the excavator, and anybody that knows how to make quick work of dirt, it is Dave Sparks. And probably just past lunchtime, we'd had the hole dug. You know, this hole ended up being something about, 55 feet long and maybe 14 feet deep. And then came the really interesting part. You know, the hole was sitting kind of like this, and the road that we had cut in was like this. And so you have to figure, this military truck had this long tank on it like this. And so how were we gonna get the military truck up our road with the tank this way, unload it, and then swing it down into this hole? It just wasn't gonna happen.
I'm gonna build a ramp down by the rebar, and then this pile of stuff right here, I'm just gonna move to the side and cut low so that we can back the tank straight towards it, and then unload it there, and then be able to pull the truck out, and then we'll have the tank sitting on just basically a flat ramp that we can pull it up and position it.
Right here. Yeah.
So what we ended up having to do is, off the end of the trench that we had made for the tank itself, we ended up cutting in another road. That way we could take the tank around this way, back the Army truck up, back it into the hole that we'd created, at which point in time the excavator could take one end, the loader could take the other end again. We would lift up this tank, and then we would slowly lower it down into its final resting place. it just felt really real. It almost felt surreal how quickly this thing was going. And I remember in these moments, sometimes I just get lost in the history mentality. I started thinking, you know, when is the next time this tank is ever gonna move? I don't think it ever will. You know, when's the next time this tank will even be seen? You know, when will it be used? Hopefully never be used, you know, because this is only water for the sprinklers. And so we're burying this massive, huge thing that'll just sit there unseen, unsettled for who knows how many years, you know, and who knows a couple hundred years in the future, they're like, what is this massive thing that is just placed here? You know, who knows? Maybe they're making it a swimming pool in the future. I'd be okay with that.
Johnny, yeah. Hey, you got the keys to the mine over there? Yeah.
Yeah. It's going good. It's actually been incredibly smooth. Usually big jobs like this, you have some disaster after another. This time, everything's gone just oddly smooth. So kind of waiting for something to drop, but so far, we just got to lift it up a few inches off the truck, slide the truck out, set her on the pedestals, and it should be gold.
Chain over here. You want another chain?
I thought Hans was dragging it up right there. On the other side is loaded.
You're going down.
Hey!
Slowly going down. You went down about that far.
We got it down in the hole perfectly. You know, we re-leveled everything to make sure it was sitting right. And it's done, you know, and now it sits there.
This is the aquarium, right?
This is huge for the town. It is huge. And we could have gone smaller, maybe 4 like 10,000 gallon tanks or something, but
all the way in.
I like the one and done approach.
No, as soon as you're involved, it's like, nope,
yeah, I was like, Brent, find the biggest tank you can find. And honestly, it worked out great. Like, logistically, that was
way smoother than I thought.
super challenging, but ended up being super easy. Grateful for the opportunity to be back up in your beautiful town. And I'll tell you what, man, the weather's been amazing. It's
great.
Dude, they just treated us very nicely.
Best.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for something to drop still, because everything's like,
something will break on the way down the canyon.
So smooth.
Harrowing tales from Death Valley National Park in California.
More than 6 months worth of rain falling in just hours.
Stranding about 1,000 visitors and workers. Roughly 60 vehicles apparently were buried in mud and debris.
So today I was on a supply run trying to get the valve so we could fill the tank, to backfill the tank, as well as some decking supplies for the theater that we're gonna do the movie theater at. And as I was out, a flash flood hit the town, the area. As you can tell in front of me, I'm pulling up to Cerro Gordo. It's over the road, you can see a river there. I'm getting reports that up the road a little bit from the guys that are up there, it's completely washed out down to bedrock. It means a few things. It means that getting any water truck up there to fill this is gonna be pretty much impossible until we can get this road rebuilt. You know, that's gonna have to be the county that does that. They're the ones that grade the road. And so now, with the road washed out, I can't anticipate any cement truck being able to go up until we fix the road. So the basement can't continue, which means we can't start framing. The wood is ordered. It's already sitting here. We already have the carpenter. So
those two projects, who knows? You know, right now it's almost dark, and so I'm gonna go up in the morning. I'm actually staying Keeler tonight because there's another flash flood warning. I just got it on my phone. There you go. Got the flood warning in effect. Up the road, the Narrows are washed out. That's up where the town is there. You know, it just seemed like we were on pace to finally get this thing enclosed, the hotel, get the tank buried, have two huge pieces out of the way. Now flash flood might put us back weeks, might put us back months, might put us back longer. You know, you just don't know. If anything I've learned over the last couple years here, it's that this too shall pass and we'll figure out a way. But just hate to see momentum come to a halt like this. All right, so we're just about to leave and try to take the back way into Cerro Gordo to see what the damage is like. The front road is completely impassable. It's totally washed out. So we got airing down some tires, got someone making a pry rod in case we need it. We have MREs, a bunch of water. Looks like they're trying to block the road here. You can see there's a lot of machinery out. Yeah, they're blocking the road. They're trying to stop people from going through to Death Valley. But this is the only other way into Cerro Gordo, so you can see all the people hanging out. So DWP stopped me and they said that just even up on here on the road a little ways, it's impossible to get past. So there's no way to get in the back way. So that's gonna be fun. So what's going on? The road's blocked here. We can't even take the main highway. Yep. So we're back at it. This road, the highway even, is apparently washed out somewhere along here. We need to not only just take this highway and pave, then we have to get on a dirt road and then take the dirt road for a long ways, then take the really gnarly back Cerro Gordo road. So it's not looking good already if they said that this highway's washed out, but let's see what the highway washed out means and then see how far we can make it, because we got red up there, we got animals up there. We're gonna make it up there. You can see all the warning signs. This is a bad road on a good day. Sure is beautiful out here. Joshua trees. As you can see, we're still on the road. Not too bad so far, surprisingly. A little bit more hope that we can get in the back way. But again, it's really once we get into that gravel, dirt, final climb by Cerro Gordo that's gonna be an issue. All right, here we are. Moment of truth. We're leaving White Talc Mountain Road and entering the Cerro Gordo Wash. Basically, if this way isn't accessible, and there's no way into Cerro Gordo right now. Mile or two left, 2 miles, and it's been all right. Because it seems like all the water always washes over the front down the Yellow Grade Road. Back here there's drainage, as you can see. So I'm curious to get to town, see what happened in town, see how bad any ruts are. All right, so getting back into town, and didn't seem the worst. Like I said, most of the water runs off the front, so we were able to make it back. It's sunny right now. And then we get on the dirt bike and explore how bad the road is going down. See if we can't fix anything with an excavator. But it's good to get back because we got our boy Red up here. And of course the animals that I gotta make sure they get cared of. I just find that life up here is this constant contrast between highs and lows. You know, every day I get to experience just the transcendental beauty that's all around me.
You know, for 2 years I've been able to walk in the shadows of Mount Whitney and experience that awe and that humbling nature that comes with living so exposed out here. You know, and then my backyard is Death Valley National Park. And I just get to experience that intimacy and that clarity that comes with just staring at the desert day in and day out. But then on the flip side, I just have the wrath that comes with Mother Nature and being so exposed. You know, being exposed literally and metaphorically, being so vulnerable, you know, being vulnerable that my best made plans will just get literally washed away in one day's notice. You know, being so vulnerable that, you know, at times it just makes me want that normal life, you know, that comfortable apartment back in Austin where, you know, the worst thing is if my apartment floods, I call a maintenance crew, they come and fix it, and if they can't fix it, they put me up in a hotel. But out here, if a flood happens, no one's putting you up in a hotel, and it's not a pipe that needs to be tightened. It's a 7-mile dirt road that you have to fix piece by piece. You know, and it just draws every part of you over and over and over again to the point where you ask, how much more can you take? I think the day after the flood, I felt that. You know, I just felt, how many more of these can I go through? You know, how much more of myself can I give to this town? How much more of other people can I ask of this town? You know, it just makes me want to be in that comfortable apartment. But I know me, you know, I know that being back in that comfortable apartment, I'm gonna miss the mountain. You know, I'm gonna miss things going on here. I'm gonna get anxious about this town not seeing its true potential. And that's just what this place does to people. You know, it gets in your blood and it infects you in this way that it's been doing for the past 150 years. And I remember being sent this journal of a woman who lived here in the early 1900s. And this town practically destroyed her whole family. You know, it basically ruined her life, her marriage. It was difficult. There's 12-foot snowbanks. And she moved away from the town for a long time. And one of the last journal entries in the diary was how much she was lamenting for just one more sunset up at Cerro Gordo. And I feel that, you know, there's some calling here. There's this beauty of nature and history and potential that I think keeps me coming back for more. You know, so at this point, at this juncture, a week after, everything looks like it's thrown out the window. You know, it doesn't look like my hotel plans are gonna happen again this year as they haven't for the past 2. It looks like the most practical move is just to go somewhere nice, recount the year, and pick it up again next year. But if you watch this channel for a while, you know that's not gonna happen.
My favorite days at Cerro Gordo are days when the town feels alive, when I feel like I can get a little glimpse into maybe what the town felt like back in the heyday. And we get that with the group events, you know, with the race, things like that. But we also get it when groups of volunteers come together to tackle really specific tasks. And I think of all of the days in the past 5 years, possibly my favorite day of them all was when a bunch of us came together to pour the second half of this concrete wall you see behind me. All right, so starting tomorrow, there is going to be a lot of activity behind me. That is because starting tomorrow, we are going to begin the process of mixing and pouring 30 yards of concrete in the basement walls behind me. 30 yards is 1,500 90-pound bags of dry concrete mix. That's nearly 70 tons of mix that has to be brought all the way up here. And all of these supplies I'm talking about are being delivered at the bottom of the mountain, which is an 8-mile dirt road away, almost a mile in elevation below us. And the reason that we're having to bring all these supplies up here is because no concrete company will bring their trucks up our road. The road's too dangerous, there's easier jobs elsewhere, and so it's really up to us. You know, so the situation actually isn't that much different than one I was in just over a year ago. At that point in time, we were just beginning the hotel process, and we needed to pour our first concrete into the footers. So the footers are the things that are gonna support everything you see behind me. And that called for 80 yards of concrete. And so at that time, a guy named Dave Sparks pretty much saved the day. And Dave came over here with his gang all the way from Utah, and they brought a mixer truck. And pretty much right here, we mixed and poured 80 yards of concrete in the same day.
And at that time, I thought that was the hardest day I might have up here at Cerro Gordo. You know, Dave proved that it was possible. And so after we put up the first lift, so half of the wall behind me, a local company had seen Dave's video, and they're like, you know what? If Dave can do it, I think we can bring our trucks up there. So the second pour of concrete was super simple. You know, we just had trucks come up, we had a pump, we pumped around, things were done in an hour or so. Unfortunately, when it came time to the third pour, the top half of that wall you see behind me, things haven't been so easy. Turns out after that first run up here, the cement company decided, you know what? No, that road is too dangerous. It's too much of a risk for our drivers. You know, we have much easier jobs everywhere else. We're just not gonna do it. This time, we're taking a little bit different approach. This time, the community that cares so much about this town has all rallied behind it, and we're gonna make it happen. We have probably a half dozen trucks coming. We have probably a dozen to 20 people coming up here to help. I am looking forward to these days almost more than any. You know, they're gonna probably be the hardest days I've ever had up here at Cerro Gordo in 2+ years. But on the other end of those days means the end of the concrete phase of the hotel, which is a day that I've been looking forward to for a very, very long time, because that means framing can begin. That means that this hotel can just come back to life, which has been pretty much my guiding light for the last 2 years. So over the next few days, it's gonna be a lot of transportation, a lot of mixing, a lot of pouring, a lot of learning, a lot of help from a lot of different people, but I'm super excited about it. All this will help complete and finish the basement of the hotel. The plan was, over the course of 2 days, we were gonna get 40 pallets delivered to Keeler. I was gonna go down there with a forklift, unload these pallets, and start hauling them up the hill. And we have a 5-ton military truck here that was given to us by Dave Sparks, which can haul a lot of weight. It's really useful, but it, space-wise, can at most bring 4 pallets up at a time. And 4 pallets, when you have 40, would be 10 runs up and down the hill. And up and down the hill with full load takes about an hour. So you're looking at just an insane amount of time on a vehicle that is prone to breaking down. But luckily, this community, this channel, wants to see this hotel succeed just as much as I do. All right, as you can see, the sun has gone behind the mountains, and the day began unloading 14 pallets of these cement bags. Each one of them weighs just over 3,000 pounds. And right now, we are down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so, we're not done. The 5-ton's actually on its way back down now. That run will be after dark. We can get 4 on that, so that'll be 4 of these gone. I might take a little bit more in my truck, so that means that we will have moved 12 of the pallets at least. We'll see if we can get another truck down here and run the rest of them up, because tomorrow, same thing's happening, more coming, so it's only gonna get worse. So I wanna get as many up there as we can, and just the process of getting them up there is so hard, and we haven't even begun. You know, we haven't even started the mixing, which is just gonna be insane. But that's gonna start on Saturday. It's Thursday, so I need to get these things up there. So for now, I'm gonna do some laundry and get ready to go. Well, as you can tell, it's far after dark, and I hear the 5-ton coming for the next load. We still have to load this in and get back up just to stay on schedule for tomorrow. So it's gonna be a late night. We're hoping to get at least 4 more pallets up tonight, and that'll keep us on schedule to get this thing going the next day.
Whoa, yeah, drop it, drop it, drop it.
All right, if you look out there, you can see the guys unloading. You see all the bags. You see people inside of the foundation getting the scaffolding ready. And I'm just stoked, you know, it just fills me with a lot of gratitude that so many people care about this project. So many people are willing to help, you know, no matter what, you know, just say the word and they're here. And a project like this just wouldn't happen otherwise. You know, I don't know how you get a project like this done without having just an army, So thank you guys. You're watching this. You're the reason that this place is coming back to life.
We're gonna throw a pellet up there, and we're gonna take it. Yeah, we'll just take it.
So, all right, we're up here. Chris Cam is taking over filming. We are at day 2. We have the whole crew back. We have Scotty is back. Trevor. All of this is going into those walls, and it'll be the end of the concrete era of the basement, which I think we're all looking forward to. We got a dozen people here, maybe more. We're figuring everything out on the fly. It's gonna be a good day. We got some usuals up here, as well as some new folks, and I'm very excited about tomorrow.
Cool, yeah.
As I see this thing coming together, I just can't help but think of the history of the town, the history of the hotel, and just the dreams and ambitions of everybody that came before me. You know, Cerro Gordo was established in 1865 and grew to be the largest silver mine in California. You know, the original hotel hosted some of the most infamous characters of the American West. You know, I think about how hard those owners must have pushed to have it built. And yet, even with all that, it was mostly forgotten about over the years. My hope, my dream, is to make sure Cerro Gordo is never forgotten about. You know, to set up this hotel so many generations of people can learn from the history here and enjoy the natural beauty. I can't guarantee that that will happen, but I can put everything I can into trying. And that's what I try to do every day. So basically the plan was concrete gets cut open, concrete gets put in a mixer, mixer makes the concrete gets poured into this giant bucket gets picked up, hovered over the wall, and then dumped into the wall and then vibrated. It's really important that you vibrate it as much as you can so that the concrete gets everywhere it needs to go.
Yeah, go for it.
Alright, so we got bucket brigade going on this wall. This wall we use the gondola and the crane. And we're gonna kind of compare, see how it's going. Try to get everybody to keep moving because we kind of got a window to get this stuff in there, so we're trying to get it all in the hole.
Back at it. We're moving buckets of pre-mixed concrete with water by hand into the wall, and then we're vibrating it to get it down into the cells. We're placing these anchors as we go, and yeah, we're killing it. We got, I don't know, maybe a third of it done already. This is awesome. It's a great day. How many buckets do you think you filled today? I have no idea. Probably somewhere around 500. Holy. Yeah. This is a great day. We're like, I don't know, at least, not quite half, but close. Maybe, okay, maybe not that close, but we're close. Cruising along anyway.
First 2 days was just back-breaking work, and progress was slow, to say the very least. You know, these are one of those things that, had you had a concrete truck and a pump, could have been undone within an hour. But without it, took 2 full days, and we still weren't quite done. So as day 2 of pouring was coming to a close, you know, as we were pumping, we mixed just enough to finish the final wall. And I gotta say, that was a big moment. You know, these walls are so intimidating. I've been staring at them for so many months, just wanting concrete to be in them and wanting them to be done, that I was stoked. You know, I was beyond exhausted, but everybody there just had that shared knowledge that people are gonna be talking about this for a long time. You know, I think when this hotel is done, the process of it being developed will be almost as noteworthy as the hotel itself. You know, I think it'll be one of those situations like some of my favorite movies like Fitzcarraldo or Apocalypse Now, where the making of them is as known as the movie itself, really. You know, it's these things that are just impossible, these things that probably just shouldn't exist, you know, if it wasn't just for an impossibly strong will and a desire to get back up over and over and over again, no matter how many times you get knocked down. For them to pull off something like that inspires many generations. You know, it's a ripple effect. You know, any reasonable person probably would have packed it in and left. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just really want to see something exist in the world. I know there's going to be more hiccups along the way. You know, no doubt there's going to be huge tasks that we're going to have to overcome. But I get more confident every day in that ability to just figure things out. You know, I think that is what just drives this project forward. And it's going to continue driving it forward for just years to come. We are finally to the point where the first floor of the American Hotel is rough frame, meaning you can finally stand on top of what will be the first floor of the hotel. And to me, one of the most important things in this hotel, one of the most grand pieces, is gonna be the bar. You know, the bar that was originally built in the 90s was so stunning, so beautiful. My plan was always to have that restored how it was, you know, to give that familiar feel for the people who had been in here since that bar was built. That is, until I got a call from my friend Ryan. My friend Ryan owns a bookstore and a vinyl record shop in Austin, Texas. These buildings were built in the 1800s, and inside one half of the building, he has a bar that was also from the 1800s. And this bar isn't just any bar from the 1800s. This bar is a Brunswick bar from the 1800s. And I don't know if you guys know too much about Brunswick, but a Brunswick bar back in the day was a huge deal. John Brunswick came over here from Switzerland. And Brunswick was a master carriage maker back in Switzerland. So he moved here to America and he realized that billiards, you know, pool, was just sweeping the nation. So he very quickly got into building billiards tables, you know, pool tables. And these pool tables would very often find their way into bars, and they became just the thing to have. They basically swept the nation. You know, Abraham Lincoln had Brunswick build him a billiards table for himself. So naturally, as Brunswick was going around the nation, you know, he would spend a lot of time in these bars, and he would get talking to the bar owners. And as he was there, he started discussing how to create just a better environment, period. And so a big part of that was the bar itself. So obviously, that would lead Brunswick by the 1880s to start building bars. You know, they'd have these beautiful columns on them, all sorts of just like wood carvings in them, the likes of which it just weren't in bars at that time. You know, some of these bars would go for $20,000 back in the 1880s. So in today's dollars, that's like $500,000 for these bars that were built in all these saloons. Now, unfortunately, in the early 1900s, Brunswick started hearing rumblings of prohibition. You know, they could kind of see the handwriting on the wall, so to speak, so they stopped making these bars in 1917 or so. And so the idea, once again, of having a Brunswick bar here at the American Hotel just feels amazing. You know, it feels almost too good to be true. But of course, With all things in life, there's a catch, and this catch is a 1,500-mile catch. This bar that we're discussing is sitting in Bastrop, Texas. All right, so we have the truck. It's way bigger than I guess I imagined, but we had just the best guy here at Cube Smart. I still got to empty my storage unit here. I still have some stuff from when I lived here back in the day. We're gonna get out of here. Hey, I even got a subscriber out of this. That was pretty cool. So let's get in, let's give it a little test drive. I always wanted to be a truck driver. Thanks Dave Sparks for all the experience with the 5-ton. That's gonna come in handy. Now we are headed out to Bastrop, which is about 30 minutes from here. We're headed to Ryan's store, and then tonight in the evening, we kind of have a handyman coming over to devise the plan of how we're gonna get this thing removed tomorrow and get it into the truck. So with that, let's go to Bastrop.
Hello. Finally made it.
You made it?
Yeah.
It was not without incident, but
you didn't hit my tree, did you?
We clipped the tree. We did some pruning.
Well, these are the cats from Cerro Gordo. Did you already? Was there a reunion?
Hello. That's our reunion.
Mad at you that you gave it up for adoption.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's better home now.
An authentic Brunswick. So this bar, as far as I know, was originally built for a saloon up the street called the Iron Front Saloon. So it's been here since it was made. It's got to be at least 100 years old, I think. And then the owner who built this building, these have been a million things. This was actually at one point a billiards parlor. It's been a bar. So the owner of this building moved it here like 40 years ago, maybe more.
So this idea of like moving bars from establishment to establishment isn't necessarily a new thing. You know, they were moving bars around all the time in the American West, especially if it was a beautiful bar, it was a fancy bar. You know, if a bar went under in one town, you'd pick it up and you'd move it to the next one. And so I felt a little bit, you know, grateful that we were filming it. You know, this bar's had a history for the last 150 years. Hopefully it'll have a history for much longer than another 150 years up here at Cerro Gordo. And so we were actually able to document, you know, this thing moving from Texas to 1,600 miles away to California. I was thinking, this is going to be difficult, this is going to be hard, but we did it. You know, to be honest, it went a lot smoother than I thought it would. We got it down, we got it into the truck, we got it loaded, and I thought I was rocking and rolling. You know, I thought we were gonna get out of Bastrop before the sun set. And it turns out, of all things, the back bar was the most difficult of all the things to remove. You know, I thought this was different cabinets that were just kind of stuck next to each other, and we could pick up the individual cabinets, throw them in the truck, be on our way. No, once upon a time or somewhere along the way, it seems that they had affixed all these cabinets together. So imagine a 20-foot long cabinet with drawers in it that is very heavy, that cannot be bent because the top of these cabinets is a solid piece of wood. So you don't want that bending and breaking. So after much debate, that required a trip over to the Tractor Supply. I got a number of furniture dollies. I got a number of ratchet straps. And after some moving around, we got the bar up on its top onto the furniture dollies, ratcheted down, so we essentially had a 20-foot long centipede of a cabinet to get into the Penske truck.
Don't let it flex in the middle too much. Lift up on that side, Giovanni.
Yep. And just as the sun was kind of setting, we loaded it in the rest of the stuff, and we were set. All right, so everything is inside of the truck finally. It was a hell of a day. It went you know, a little longer than expected, but very smoothly. Everything's still one piece, everything is still we put back together, which is very exciting. Now we just gotta get it back there, and once it's there, unloaded and figure out how to get up the hill. But step 1, 2, or 3, I'm not sure what step we're on now, complete, and we're gonna get going tomorrow morning. All right, it's, I don't know what time, but just arrived back in Keeler. The bar is now in Cerro Gordo vicinity. Tonight, we sleep, but early tomorrow, try to figure out how to get this bar safely up the hill, which is gonna be a battle. But here we are in Keeler, California, a long way from Bastrop, Texas, probably 1,600 miles or so. This bar is about to go to its hopefully forever home. So for now, I'm gonna get some rest. Chris and I passed out very quickly, but with one rather big step left of getting the bar up the 8-mile dirt road all the way to Cerro Gordo. All right, so the stage is set. We've come 1,600 miles all the way from Bastrop, Texas. Bar is still intact. Mirrors are safely loaded in Keeler. There's only one final task, and that task is getting this truck up a 8-mile dirt road that's not in the best shape. We're so close yet so far. I guess then we have to unload it too, which is a whole other thing. But for right now, we need to get this thing up there. Let's give it a shot. So the final journey of this bar's trek from Texas back to Cerro Gordo was once again our road. Our road, an 8-mile dirt road where you go from about 3,000 feet in elevation to about 82 or 8,300 feet in elevation, is the kind of most difficult part of everything related to this town. We're gonna be taking it real slow. This might be a solid hour up the road, maybe more. Probably the slowest trip up the hill. I come up the hill with a lot of different things, a 5-ton block. I don't like the bumps, but you need to get the bar up. I gotta say, this thing did good. You know, the Penske 26-footer really did the trick. I have to say it went pretty much without a hitch. And so we arrived in town, and once we got here, then our final step was 2 things. 1, where are we gonna put this bar? And 2, how are we gonna get it out? You know, it made it this far safe. How do we get it out safe? After a little bit of debate, we decided that the church was probably the best place to store this thing. You know, we wanted somewhere out of the elements. It wasn't quite ready to put it into the hotel yet. You know, we're not at that phase, but we needed it somewhere out of the elements, but maybe still accessible, still somewhat close to the hotel. You know, we laid out some plywood so we could move our giant centipede of a kind of cabinet around, and we got it down. You know, luckily that day there was a lot of volunteers here around Cerro Gordo, so we all kind of chipped in, and I'm very happy to say right now, the Brunswick bar from the 1800s that was just in Bastrop, Texas is now safely here at Cerro Gordo. My hope for Cerro Gordo is that it's around for generations to come, that the work that myself and all the volunteers have been doing on this town allow it to bring joy to many, many people into the future. And when I think about that, I like to think about things that'll stick around. You know, fun things that we can do now that will carry forward to those future generations. And one thing that I've always wanted to do from the very beginning is to do a foot race, a run up our 8-mile dirt road. And finally, in the summer of 2023, it happened. We have promised a recovery lounge with ice baths. We have medic stations along the way. We're supposed to have a massive meal at the end of this for all of the participants and all the people that are helping volunteer and stuff like that. Tomorrow, Cloth and Flame is coming, and Cloth and Flame is co-producing this event. So they're helping to put this all thing together. Stress is a little bit high. We have some really cool people coming in for this. We have former Olympians, other YouTubers that you may know, and more. The road that people are gonna be running up is called the Yellow Grade Road. And it's called the Yellow Grade Road because of the yellow shale that had to be cut through. It's about 8 miles long, and it increases in elevation from about 3,500 feet in elevation to about 8,500 feet in elevation. It is the reason Cerro Gordo, where I am sitting right now, became the largest silver mine in California's history. They were able to pull $500 million worth of minerals out of this town. You know, it's all because of the road. And these days, the road is not for the faint of heart. We have had floods, we have had cars break down, and so now we're gonna see how it fares when 50 to 100 people try running up it. You know, my hope for this event is that it becomes an annual event. This is something that we do every single year. And I think this year is kind of proof of concept. And if we can prove this concept in this event, that we can pull off an event up here, I think it opens the door to have maybe 4 events each year. We have the run, we have the film festival, which is the second thing that I want to try to pull off in 2023. We're eyeing somewhere around Labor Day, you know, somewhere in September. And then maybe in later years, we have something like a conference, you know, maybe bring 100 people up, some great speakers, and then obviously a musical component. But all of that starts with pulling off one good event, and all of that starts with doing something. And so with that, with a little bit of context, I'm gonna get in my Kubota, I'm gonna go down the mountain, and we're gonna take a look at the status of the road right now, a day or two before this run begins. All right, so before this race begins, we gotta talk a little bit about how insane this road is. You might be out there, you're thinking, hey, 8 miles, no big deal. 5,000 feet in elevation gain, do it in my sleep. But this road is really hard. It is loose gravel, it is shale. The only person that I know that's run this road is a guy named Ryan Holiday. And Ryan is a very strong runner. Ryan did it in 1 hour, 59 minutes, and some seconds. And he was just absolutely wiped afterwards. You know, so right now, that is the bar. If you're out there and you're thinking, hey, I can do that no problem, I hope you do. I hope to make this an annual event. I hope you come out next year. But I will say this, the camera has a way of smoothing out the hills here. So this thing behind me might not look that steep, but it's very, very steep. Something to note as we watch these people come out this road. 3, 2.
It's all downhill from here, right?
Exactly, yep, you're good. By the time we got to the first checkpoint, Ryan was just ahead of everybody. You know, he was leaps and bounds ahead, a distance he would maintain pretty much for the whole race. But the rest of the pack was kind of split. You know, some were keeping that slow and steady pace, others were getting a little bursts, then walking. Leaders of the pack right here.
First annual Cerro Gordo run.
Yes.
Let's go.
Let's go.
That first mile and a half is so deceiving because like it's hard, but mentally I was like, remember the hills are coming.
I'm feeling great.
That guy,
I'm just old and fat, so it's taking a little longer than I hoped. Killer course. It's gonna be a big race in the coming years, I guarantee it.
It's a hard race. You know, we're halfway through. I think my stamina is staying up. I think I'm gonna be able to finish it this time. I'm excited that I'm beating both Nick and Buddy, and I look forward to collecting a lot of money. Towards the end, Ryan just smoked everybody. You know, Ryan Lecker was the winner of the inaugural Cerro Gordo Silver Run at a time of 1 hour, 46 minutes, and 48 seconds. He took the lead from the jump, and he kind of never let it go.
Yeah!
65.
All right.
Woo! Oh, it's like my 7th run in 2 months. Holy shit. The first half was pretty chill. Once you start getting to those miles that have like 800 plus feet of climbing, you know, that kind of sucks because you get like this little fake, little bit of a downhill right there, like 5 point whatever miles, and then it's like middle finger.
So how'd you train for this?
I didn't.
You didn't?
No, I'm coming off of like 4 injuries over the last since November. Someone tagged me on Facebook the other day, and so I looked at it and I was like, yeah, I'll sign up for it.
All right, guys, that is it. That is the first annual Cerro Gordo Silver Run. Congratulations to everybody that participated. That is history in the making. We hope to do that every single year. Our goal was to bring life back to this place. You know, that was kind of our hope. And today, the town feels very much alive with everybody here. And so I want to thank everybody for being here, whether you're participating. Huge shout out to Cloth and Flame for making this thing happen. The trophy will be engraved and remain here on site, so you can bring up your friends and be like, look, I did win in 2023.
Let's go, Roger!
I wrote a book. This is something that I've been working on for the past year or so. You know, I've been spending a lot of late nights just sitting in my cabin, recounting the highs and lows of this experience, you know, thinking about the beauty that's all around me, thinking about the storied history here, you know, the people that have come into my life, the new skills that I've been forced to learn, and kind of how all of that set me on what I think is like my life's task. I work with authors in my day job almost every day. I've wanted to write a book for a very long time. I just never thought that I had anything to say. And so I think now, after 3.5 years being up here, there's obviously been a lot of change, both for myself and the town and my mentality and everything else. And so getting this for the first time, holding it in my hands, is just really impactful to me. It was a lot of work. It was one of the more hard things I've ever done, and your support of it would mean a lot.
Another thing I've always been interested in at Cerro Gordo is gold. Now this is a silver mine. You know, that's why this town was built. That's why it's famous. But I've always heard whispers that would indicate that there used to be a lot of gold in these hills as well. And if I was ever going to search for gold, now would be the time, because I have 2 of the most qualified individuals I can imagine here to help me look. I have Dan Hurd and Jason from Mount Baker Mining up here, and together we are going to search anywhere and everywhere that gold might have existed at Cerro Gordo and figure out what that story is all about. Dan, where are you gonna head?
I'm going to the surface just outside the Jefferson chimney, and there's a whole bunch of old workings there, mine dumps, that I'm gonna start detecting, and hopefully we can find one of those nuggets.
We're going down the Cage of Doom, the Cage of Death, to the 86, and we're gonna work right underneath where Dan is. So we're all gonna be looking for those gold nuggets.
We will find gold today. I will guarantee you by the end of the day, we will have gold.
Woo!
How much?
Oh, big words.
I like that. All right, Dan, good luck.
Thank you so much. I can do it. Finding the gold.
Dan's gonna go metal detect the wash. Brett and I are going underground. He's gonna look for gold. We should have a contest, Dan. Who can find the most
gold?
And so when it comes to gold at Cerro Gordo, there are 2 old newspaper articles that got us very excited. The first is from 1875 from the Inyo Independent. The title is "Streets of Cerro Gordo Paved with Gold." Our junior was shown a piece of gold, or rather a nugget, by Mr. Price at Lone Pine that weighed 13 ounces, 2/3 of which was pure gold. Everybody is immensely excited, and truly Cerro Gordo is literally paved with gold. The second article is from the Inyo Independent. It says, "Some 2 weeks since we made mention of a rather exciting discovery of gold
in the dumps of the silver lead mines of Cerro Gordo. Since then, we have seen a very fine specimen of about 3 ounces weight being quartz and gold in nearly equal proportions. The boulders containing the gold are heavily coated with iron rust. And so when Jason and I go underground and Dan stays above ground, we're going to be looking for this quartz that has a iron rust coating to it. Hopefully of some type of uniform shape. That's where it gets a little bit wonky, but that just feels like a treasure hunt waiting to happen. All right, Jason and I made it down to the 86. We are now gonna make our way over towards the Jefferson Chimney, which is where they said back in the day that $200,000 of the gold is found. Hopefully with some expert eyes like Jason, we can see what it looks like. And Dan's above us, searching around in the old dumps. It's gonna be a good day. Created a nice stack of rock there. There we go, we got a little friend here. See that?
Oh yeah, cool.
3 holy cow, there's a lot.
A lot of bats?
Yeah.
Here for the winter.
One here. As we came up to the first collapse we had to go over, above the collapse there was this kind of rusted orange rock. And Jason said that that looks really good. You know, what we were looking for ideally, that was described in the newspaper article, was a quartz that was covered with an iron ore that made it look like rust. What about this? Is this like the iron we're looking for?
Yeah, that's exactly what they were talking about. Like
sounds like a vein.
And see, there's this little slip here, this little fault, and this may be the trace of the Union and the Jefferson. I'm kind of thinking they're in line with each other along strike.
Okay.
And so they may be like 2 huge pods within this fault zone or within this area.
Right.
And so the miners were just following the trace of the vein, and it's real lensy. So this is like a little lens.
Right.
That's exactly what they were talking about in the prospectus and newspaper articles, is that super brown, rusty quartz, and no one could see the gold in it because it was so rusty. And this is all done by hand, right?
Yeah, and then hug the left side because we're basically, you're there.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and then look down, dude. I'm on a false floor, which is also sketchy.
You're on a false floor, okay.
But down that way.
You roped down this?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and it came out right here.
Oh, man.
And then if you look down, there's another just...
I don't want to look.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
So after we looked around the Jefferson a while, we made a plan to go back to the collapse and make that our primary target.
My theory is that the Union and the Jefferson are on the same structure.
Okay.
And they're, I don't know, I'll have to look on the surface, but the structure got offset here, it looks like, maybe 100 feet or more. And yeah, they're just working both of them. Because they definitely came down and hit the structure. We walked through it from the hoist.
Right. This would have been hard going through.
Dude, this is a nightmare. Yeah. This is a nightmare.
How would you even like, because it's just going to collapse all around you all the time.
Right. And it's probably, they probably didn't even blast in here. It was just like they would like work around a boulder and like drop it and then break it up and get it out of here. Because you can't drill this. Yeah. Like if you drill a hole, it just like stuff falls down and clogs your hole. So.
Because this is just like gravel stuck together over here.
Yeah. Yeah. Terribly unsafe.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like
trying to mine through that.
It's just a nightmare. Like you could do it with a shovel.
Yeah. It would just be collapsing on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as we were by the collapse, there's another little kind of rabbit hole as they were just kind of snaking above, following a vein. And this vein was also this kind of rich, dark orange clay, as well as the quartz with the rust over it. Oh, some decent stuff about to fall.
Yeah.
I'll put that down the hole. Is that quartz, you think?
I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like
gold.
Rusty gold. Rusty irony quartz.
Cerro Gordo gold. Cerro Gordo gold. I might. Let me see here. All right, so our first bucket of ore from the mine. This is the quartz that's a little rusty. What do you think about this ore, Jason?
It looks really good.
Yeah.
It looks like what they were talking about in the article, that super brown quartz that is hard to see anything in, but there could be gold in it.
We're gonna check it out. We got that. We're headed up for trip 1. We're gonna give a check-in on, see how Dan's doing. Maybe Dan's at the top of the 13-ounce nugget, you know? We just don't know yet.
It's way better when they're up here in the light. You can see them. I like you go down and get them, and then I get a look at them.
Yeah. So after Jason and I got back up top with this rusted quartz, we had to crush it up. What you're trying to do is you're trying to free the gold from whatever it's being held within. And then gold is much heavier than any other mineral up here, so it's gonna sink to the bottom if you start panning it.
After shaking for a few seconds, this top stuff will have no gold that is free, like by itself. Might have some that's still attached to quartz, but all this top stuff, there'll be no nuggets.
We don't have it crushed down fine enough, so maybe only 10% of the gold got liberated, because see how coarse it is? Because we just don't have the fine crushing ability here. But we probably liberated some, and so that's our goal, is to get down to the fines in the bottom.
No gold. We'll get it in the wash tomorrow.
Okay. There you go, Brent. There's your hope.
A little bit of silver.
A little bit of silver.
Today marks the 3rd day with no power up here in town, which also makes the 3rd day where there's so much snow on the road that it's basically impossible to come and go. You know, 4 days ago, I cut my finger really bad with a drone, had to go to the urgent care, and getting back up here was all sorts of nightmares. All right, and this is it. This is as far as DWP decided to go, which is probably a smart call. It gets very steep here in a moment. So beyond here, we probably have still another, 2.5 to 3 miles to town. You can see the town is still in the clouds up there. It's gonna be hard going, so we'll see how much further we can make it. Come on, come on. All right, I am less than a mile from town. I tried to go up this way, wasn't working, turned around. Back on solid ground now, but if I could punch through, so Edison then can get through and fix our power. Otherwise, I'm stuck here or going back down to Keeler, and the town has no power. The best option seems to be out on this outer ridge. You know, I can at least get a little bit of dirt out here, but then I'm right by the side of a cliff, which if you start sliding, you know, the whole truck could just slide over. But we're looking at a pretty hard slog to town from here. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of scouting. I mean, maybe if I'm just gunning it along this side, I think the best approach might be to go fast along this side. Don't do any of the crossing over. That way, if I do get stuck, I have my path back down. I'm not going sideways. Stick on this side. I am sure a lot of you out there have better suggestions on how to do this, and you will let me know. But for right now, you're not here, so I gotta do what I can to get up to town. All right, this little bit is all deep. There's no great option. So before I do anything dumb, I try to find some low points. Nah, it's so deep right here. Not that side. How deep is it over here? It's so deep over here too, look at that. Yeah, there's no, I'm not getting to town. We're headed back. All right, I turn back around and I can easily just go down, but I'm not really the type to give up, as you may know, with Cerro Gordo and otherwise. And this final, like, let's say 200 yards, and then we're in the home clear, because there's no more inclines to go up. It's a straight grade, so that'll be easy to go over. It's just this final incline of 100 to 150 yards that's causing me some issues. Could depart, wait it out, but what am I gonna do down in Keeler? And here it is. This is enough perseverance. We've made it back to town. I gotta say, no matter how many times you've had days like this, they don't get any easier. There's a bat directly above me in this mine, and I've always been fascinated with them. You know, even before Cerro Gordo, I was into bats. I remember as a kid, I would doodle them in the margins of my notebook. Bats are very curious creatures, and I think they kind of get a bad rap. You know, at the moment that I started going in mines and seeing bats, people started saying, you know, every bat has rabies, you have to avoid it. Or, you know, bats suck blood, or bats are blind, and this and that. And most of those are myths. But this month I was very lucky because I had a visit from Dr. Mike Morrison, a retired professor of wildlife ecology that's been studying bats in the Owen Valley since 1991. Mike has tagged over 4,000 bats and is literally the bat expert, especially when it comes to bats in an abandoned mine.
Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Welcome up.
I'm watching all your YouTube videos.
Oh, thank you. So Mike came to visit, and we dove into some of these myths as well as some more facts related to bats and bats in abandoned mines.
All right, we're ready. This is so awesome. This is like a dream come true doing this. My dad would be jealous. Yeah.
All right, this is it.
I'm right here already. Let me turn this on.
All right.
Yeah. Awesome. So this reads like this, and then I've got in my pocket, I've got a tag. These guys are always exposed like this. They won't go up into any cracks.
Mm-hmm.
They could be, like, one could be right like that.
Right.
But they won't go up into any cracks.
Okay.
So it's tagged.
Wow.
The first fucking one is tagged. Wow. Look at that. The first fucking one is tagged. So all I do now is keep track of how many we see.
Okay.
So.
And is it saving each one that you see?
Yep, it's saved. And before we turn this off and we go back up, I'll write them down because I don't trust a computer.
Right. Once we were in the mines, Mike was quick to identify bats, even tagged ones. Were you part of tagging all the bats in this region? So like,
Every one of them.
So you've seen that bat before then?
Yes.
That's crazy.
And when I get home tonight, when I go through all this, I will
know which one to
email you where everyone that's tagged came from.
Cool.
Between 25 and 30% of the bats I find in the winter are tagged.
Okay.
I won't be surprised if we only get a few tagged here, but that's fine. I mean, every one is big news.
As we snaked through the shafts, we found a few in the stope right by the hoist.
2, 3, 4, be tagged. I don't think I have them if I can.
You need to hold on to this? Or?
Well, it's not that. It's the
telescoping?
No, what's going to happen is I didn't bring the
long. The cable's going to
I didn't think about that far. Let me see something here.
Some were tucked away in hard to reach places, but Mike brought the right equipment for the job.
Nah, he's not tagged.
All right.
Tagged.
Oh, nice.
There you go, see?
Cool.
That's 15.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll let you lead the way.
Yeah, there you go.
How comfortable are you with scrambling places?
I'm fine.
Okay.
I scramble all the time.
So that hole up there leads over this collapse.
Where, right up here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then over that is where all the bats that I saw were. The Jefferson chimney is just beyond this.
Okay. So you want to put the ladder up here and go up over that?
Yeah, it's just a little, it's not more than a little, it's quite precarious.
That's fine.
All the gear okay?
Oh yeah, no, it just came off my hand.
Cool. Once we climbed over the collapse towards the Jefferson chimney, the bats really started to show up.
Tagged.
Nice.
17, 18, 19, 20.
There were clusters of bats all along the shaft, leading us to believe that the bats are probably entering the mine from the Jefferson chimney. Looking closer at them, I saw more of the beauty of the creatures, no matter my past experiences with them.
There we go. You see how the one's got his ear out?
Yeah.
See, that's what they normally look like. That's what that'd be a pair, so we've got 32 plus a pair. So did they come from this crack in the ground this way, or did they go this way?
I think that they found, because the crack went only the surface of a surface deposit.
Yeah.
And once they realized that, they started intersecting it below to let gravity do the work.
Gotcha.
And then mine up. And then this to your right is the Jefferson chimney. So it's going to be a pretty big opening. Wow. And so this ore deposit went from the surface, it went down 1,100 feet. Yeah. This goes way up.
Holy. Oh, there's a bat up there. You can probably reach that one. Hold it up as high as you can once I get over.
Okay.
I can hang it on that. I just don't like to.
Right.
44. Well, you said 30 or 40. Well, we're at 44.
Yeah.
So you're pretty good. Yeah. This is fact, not brag. I've been told by bat biologists this is the most intensive, largest geographic scale, long-term bat study going on anywhere of tagged bats. For an animal that lives that long,
yeah,
you kind of got to follow them for a long time to kind of figure out
what's going on.
Yeah, so besides movements and site use, roost use, we'll find out about survival rates of males and females, different strategies where they breed in winter. So it's a lot of different kinds of data.
Having Mike up this month was awesome. I just think that anytime somebody's that's passionate about something, you just can't help but care more. And Mike did that for bats with me. They eat bugs, they eat mosquitoes, and everybody hates mosquitoes. They pollinate fruit. If you like tequila, they're the reason tequila exists. They pollinate the agave plant. They are even being used to study how infectious diseases spread.
White nose syndrome is a result of a fungus that was introduced around New York from overseas, from Europe, in about, I think it was 1997, although I'm not sure the exact year. And what it does, it gets on their nose and wings and things. It causes skin irritation.
Okay.
And so in the winter, you see this white powdery stuff. So it doesn't get into their lungs or anything. What it does for hibernating bats, it irritates them so they can't sleep. And if you can't sleep, it means you're going to use your energy, which means you starve to death.
Right.
So white nose syndrome kills bats by having them starve to death.
In the end, we had seen 45 bats, and Mike was able to identify 4 of them as tagged.
4 of them we couldn't reach with the pole to check, and 4 of them were tagged. For this far south in the study is about what I expected, 10%. And so tonight I'll look and see where they were tagged. So probably one of the maternity colonies. So,
very cool.
So we find very, very good.
Yeah. 3 of the bats had spent time in the Big Silver Mine, and the final one was tagged in the Snowflake Mine in 2020. Overall, I really enjoyed the time down in the mine with Mike, and it deepened my appreciation for the bats. I just think now when I'm in the mine, there's a little kinship with the bats, and that just makes it more interesting, more special, less of a mystery and more of just part of my life. And so if you're out there, give bats a chance. I'll link below to some more of Mike's research, but overall I just feel, a little bit more comfortable around the bats now that I'm down here and I've learned a little bit about them.
But right over here, past the 5-ton, you can see all of the roofing material that will be going on to the hotel tomorrow.
So here's a little bit more supply for the roof. This is the wood that's gonna go on top of the insulation. And again, as with everything, this wood is down here in Keeler, which then it needs to go way up there to Cerro Gordo. And that is where the 5-ton comes in. And in a couple of days, the roofers are gonna come. We'll have a permanent roof.
All right, and as you can see, the beginning of the roofing is down in Keeler. Now this all has to go up there. So all of this tomorrow will get brought up and used to finally put a roof on that thing. Shortly thereafter, the windows are ordered and the windows are gonna go in, and then it's time for the siding. And as you can see, I have been looking at different colors of siding, different ways to do this. But for right now, this stuff goes on there tomorrow. And in order to do that, we need a telehandler, a big forklift, and that is 7 miles down that dirt road at the edge of that dry lake bed. So we're heading down there. We're gonna grab the telehandler, come back up here, and you're gonna see this roof go on in real time. And here it is, the key to putting on our roof. And not only do all the supplies have to go up that 7-mile dirt road to town, all of the equipment to use the supplies to build the hotel also have to get up there. So this is gonna be a creep up the road, we go all the way up there. But that way tomorrow when the roofers come, the telehandler's there, the materials are there, it's time to finally get a roof.
All right, what are we up to?
Okay, well, so today we're starting the roof on the American Hotel. Installation of the 2.0 insulation, then the plywood. Hopefully after that we'll get some underlayment going, protect it from the rain. And then hopefully by Monday or so we'll have all this with a nice metal roof on it. So.
Awesome.
All right.
Excited. All right, the roof is progressing. You can see that the exterior insulation has been put down, more sheeting has been put on top of that, then the under laminate that's going to keep it really waterproof and weatherproof, and I am stoked. You know, I just can't wait to have this thing open. Having this open is going to fundamentally change the experience of this entire town. It's going to change the experience of my life, and it's going to be a new chapter, and it's almost hard to imagine what that's going to be like, but I am very, very excited for it. Imagine the views in here when the day comes. It's gonna be pretty good. All right, as you can see, the metal is almost done. After this, they're gonna do some flashing, some connective stuff, and the roof will be sealed. It is gonna be insulated, sealed, and weather tight for this winter. And then I cannot wait to have the windows in, the siding on it's gonna look like a real building. But even after all that, there's still a lot to do. You know, eventually, all of that concrete block that you see will be underground. That's the basement. So the grade of this entire ground is gonna go up quite a bit because a lot of this got pushed out when we cleared out the old hotel. For now, it's a beautiful day. Roof is almost done, and that's an exciting news. All right, so where are we at?
All right, so it's Tuesday, and we finished the roof.
You guys contributed to history, you know? Hopefully it'll stand for a long time.
We're all happy to be here, you know? It was a little creepy to stay in the fun house, but it was fun.
You guys did an awesome job, thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. There it is, the American Hotel with a roof all the way around. That is a very beautiful sight. That is something I've been looking forward to for a very, very long time. It is historic, really. I think for the future of the town, that roof will be there for a very long time. Hopefully far beyond my days, which is crazy to think about. But we still have a lot of work to do. Need to get these windows in, need to get wrapped, insulated, sided before the winter really hits. That's a really, really big thing now. So we're going to be pressing really hard over these next few months. Look out for a lot of updates related to that. Right here, right in that spot, that is where billionaire genius Tony Stark was held against his will by some Afghani captors and forced to make a rocket. But instead of making the rocket, Tony Stark, aka Robert Downey Jr., made an Iron Man suit and displayed it on film for the first time ever right there. And you can tell that the cave itself was a set they built into the hillside right here. But these are the formations of rocks around it, and the road, they added tents around the sides of the road. So this looked like a main street or something of a town or a camp. But in reality, this is a part of the road that I'll call the Narrows. And I've had huge washouts over the year because the water just flows through here. This is a corner that I drive by almost every day. It's caused me huge headaches. I never took the time to realize that right there was the beginning of the Iron Man sequence. You know, it had been a cartoon ahead of time, but the first Iron Man, the first time that suit is ever revealed, happens from this perspective right there. There's a shot where they kind of go up here and they pan down like this, and they show the cave, and then there's tents, and you have the mesh over this. And after he gets out, they start fighting along this. So I'm gonna climb down from here. All right, so right here is where the cave was built. And there's a shot, once he comes out, he's fire blazing out of the front of the suit. And there's a shot down this road this way of some guys coming up the road with guns, and they're kind of coming to fight him. And so you'll see one shot here where they're coming up the road fighting him. And there's a shot, they kind of pan like this, And you can't see much, it's kind of zoomed in on his face, but you see that ridge behind there. So distinguished little knob there and there. And so you can see one shot this way when they're showing him in profile, one shot down here when they're fighting them. And again, this whole hill had been built up with nets to make it look like a camp. But right here, this is where Iron Man, as seen for the first time on the big screen, took place. And it's crazy to think that, again, I drive by this every day, and if you go watch these videos, you know that this area I've spent probably the most amount of time ever, because when the rains come, all this dirt gets washed away. And I've spent a long time with a backhoe right here, rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding. But, you know, I never took the time to realize that right here was the bunker that old Tony Stark was in. And that's awesome. And I hope you guys come check it out. It's on the way up to Cerro Gordo, so if you want to check it out.
And here we are in 2025, and the main project remains the American Hotel. It is starting to really look and feel like a hotel in here, because recently we got our windows, we got our exterior insulation, and we got our exterior siding.
Today is another very exciting day up here at Cerro Gordo for the hotel, because today the exterior insulation begins to go on, which afterwards means that our exterior siding can go on, and then it'll really be looking like a building. But at the moment, that's what the building looks like. And again, today you're going to start seeing the exterior insulation going up everywhere to make sure this thing is really, really weatherproof and nice and warm in the winters and cool in the summers. And you can see some of the insulation coming out right now. And so you're gonna start seeing that jigsaw all around. Very, very exciting. And here comes our siding of the hotel.
So we just finished covering this front-facing side of the American Hotel with the Tyvek. We've also installed all the rain screen slats. So right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a control line, which is gonna be our first run of Kebony shiplap. So I want the Kebony shiplap to have a whole piece just above the decking boards. So we will follow that control line all the way across and over into that far right corner. So then when you look back at it, everything is even. Again, I think starting with the whole board is really a best practice, and then we'll grow from that. But yeah, we're gonna shift gears, get this control line done, wrap around that corner, and then we're gonna do one beautiful Kebony wall right there.
Woohoo!
You have something pretty to look at.
All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, it's about to be time. See the first little bit of siding going on the hotel. 5 years in the making. Finally start looking like a real building again, not this green situation we have right now. And I think that we're about to see it. Woo!
Look at that. Oh, yeah. That is nice. Looks good. Looks real good. Yeah.
I think the question I ask the most over the past 5 years is what's next? You know, what's next for the town? What's next for the town? And sitting here 5 years in, I would say my main hope in the short term is to finish the hotel. I think that is the heartbeat of the town. That's where people will congregate. That's just my main project above all else. After that, I hope to add maybe 5 cabins to the town core itself. Cabins where the people can enjoy their personal space, but still wander down to the hotel to enjoy a meal, some music, go over to the movie theater once we fix that up. I think beyond that, I'd love to put in 10 to 20 campsites on the backside of Cerro Gordo. So that way, no matter what somebody's budget is, they have a place to come up and stay and experience the town. If I look beyond that and let my mind really go wild, I would love to make the Hoist House one day into a brewery, you know, just kind of keep the machinery in there, put some long tables in, make it a place for more people to congregate. And beyond that, I don't know. I don't think I could tell you. But personally for me, I think I don't see myself spending time anywhere else other than Cerro Gordo until the hotel is done. You know, that's the main focus right now, and it requires my immediate attention day in and day out to make that thing happen. Longer term, I'd love to spend a few less months during the winter here. I am a Florida boy that lived in Texas before this, so I'd love to go somewhere a little bit warmer during the winter. Long term, I'd always like to spend a good portion of the year here, but I'd like to spend some time in areas with more people, you know. I've missed out on a lot in the past 5 years. I have friends that have 5-year-old kids now that I don't know the names of. I have friends that have partners that I've never met, and so I'd love to spend a little bit more time around friends and family. But I always come back here. This is the place that I want to be when I'm not here. I miss it when I'm not. And I think beyond anything else, I'm just excited. You know, I'm excited to see what the next 5 years brings. I could have never imagined what these past 5 years have been, and that excites me of what's to come. I feel like these past 5 years have made me a better person. They've made me more fulfilled, more excited about life generally, more meaning that I hopefully have been able to broadcast to others. And so thank you guys all out there that have made these past 5 years possible. Your support has made this entire experience that much more rewarding. I hope to see many of you up here at Cerro Gordo in the coming years. I'll be here. I'd love to shake your hand and say hello. But until then, I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I really appreciate you guys spending the time to check out these videos.